steer are supposed to be. Steer. 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 Oh, is it? Oh, it is actually. It's me at the wheel. That makes sense. Your dad's a little mad at you. Why? What happened? Gaming too hard. Guys, have you seen that Canada's on fire right now? It's on fire. It's actually really freaky if you look at videos and stuff. It's like flames. Which I know is, that's what fire is, but it's like, Canada can do that? Yeah. We wish it didn't, but it does. So it's really smoky. It's not too bad here. It's like moderate, like I can smell it in the air. But the East Coast, that place, it's in like dangerous. Like it's dangerous to go outside because it's so smoky. Hi, Peppy! Hello! Hello! Super hazy here? Yeah. It sucks because I love the smell of smoke, but it's like one of those things where if you inhale the smoke, it's like equivalent to smoking for your lungs. So it sucks. Sleep in my room, but oh, he couldn't find you. Oh. Aw. Well, that's not your fault, really. You just were sleeping. You were just sleeping. Drinking water? Hi, Mika! Hydrate. Okay. Today I have 2 drinks. I have lemonade and water. Because it's hot. Your nostrils are starting to burn at the end. Water, please. I drank the lemonade. Because I was asleep, my sister had to walk to one of her friend's houses. It was fairly close to our house. Oh. Have you tried the Sprite lemonade legacy? No. Is that like McDonald's Sprite? I still haven't actually had McDonald's Sprite. Does McDonald's Sprite still work if you're using like the machine thing? Like on the side? Thank you for the lurk, Mika! Yeah, but because I don't sound too different to when I wake up, I'm pretty sure he thought I was lying. Aww. That's not... I guess that's a trust issue on his fault. Don't worry about it, Juice. You could, like, set up a way for it to not happen again. Like, maybe he has... I'm not sure, like, he has a system where he can, like, come in and, like, tap on the bed or something to make sure that you're, like, there. Lemon, lime, strawberry, and lemonade flavored soda. Whoa. No, I have not had that. I have not had that. I don't know where I would get lemon, lime, strawberry, lemonade flavored soda. Or is it like mixing 2 things together? Like a lemon, lime, strawberry, like Sprite, and then strawberry lemonade? That's the Sprite lemonade legacy. Limeade? Isn't it lime? No, I guess it's limeade because it's both. Special flavor separated. Ooh, that's cool. Is it yummy? Oh, it's delicious. Good. Don't blame him, but I would have preferred him not to shout. Yeah, me too. I have very sensitive ears and emotions. When people shout, I get really, really nervous. especially if they're like in the vicinity of me, and I can't tell if it's happy shouting or mad shouting. If it's mad shouting, I get really nervous. Does it have a cool label? This lemonade strawberry lemonade legacy. Oh, wait! Wait! Wait, I saw this at work! I saw this at work! But it was like in the back. Like we had like bulk of it, and it was like in the back, and we only had two bulk cases of them. And they weren't in like the normal place where they should be, like if we were gonna put out stock or something. It was like at one of the people's desks, as if they were like gonna ship it somewhere else or like buy it for themselves. I was wondering what that was. Oh, maybe I should try. It is a nice label. It's nice and pink. Your internet dropped for a second. Hi, cat! Hello! Okay, guys. Today, we're beginning Dangerous Path. The 4th book. No, the 5th book. Yeah, the 5th book. Guys, we're 5 books in. We're almost done. 5 out of 6. Well, technically we're 4 out of 6, but we're gonna be 5 out of 6. It's weird that it only dropped for my computer. The Wi-Fi on my phone was fine. Same happened earlier today as well. That happens to me sometimes too, like on my computer. Like when I turned on my computer this morning, it wasn't connected to the internet for like 2 minutes. And I was like, what's happening? But then it connected. We read fast! Or time goes by really fast. Technically, it's been almost 5 months. It's almost been half a year since we started Warrior Cat Wednesday. That's freaky. That's freaky to think about. I'm a little sniffly. I don't know why. Wait, really? Yeah! Because it takes us around a month to read one book. The only exception was book 3, I think. It took us 3 weeks. Hi, Endorson! So yeah. So it's been a bit. It's been 4 months and 3 weeks, I guess. No. 3 months? No. We're reading Warrior Cats. Warrior Cats, Dangerous Path. So this is the 5th book in the Warrior Cat series. We've read all of the books up until this point. We're getting into Warrior Cats because he started asking me to play Roblox with him. The Warrior Cats game. Oh, that's so cute! I don't really care about shouting, but I don't like to be yelled at by family. You should play Roblox Warrior Cats with your brother. Yeah, when my sister and my mom fight a lot, and whenever they fight, I get really upset, and I cower in my room. Even though they're not yelling at me, I get very upset. Oh, mood. It's scary. I didn't realize how much it impacted me. Like, I like basically grew up with that, like them fighting and me being quiet in like a different room. And then like I had a panic attack the last time it happened, and I was like, whoa, okay. I guess that's a thing that happens now when they shout. That's cool. I don't even like play the peacekeeper. I like hide. I'm like, guess they're fighting. Don't talk back ever, so I never argue. Yeah, me too, me too. I'm the same. I don't really say anything. I just kind of like sit there. My dog doesn't like it either. She gets really... My dog is more of the peacekeeper. Because if there's fighting, she comes and she jumps up on both of them. Like, to try and, like, stop them from shouting so much. And then if that doesn't work, she'll come and find me and, like, hide in my room. Poor puppy. You're reading my diary or what? Guys, we're all the same person. We're all the same person. What I've learned from this is shouting, none of us like. All right. Let's see. We ended on a very family drama. We ended on a very, very dramatic moment last time. Do you guys... I get mad if it's something that I, like, believe in. You know, like if it's something that I feel like they shouldn't, like, they personally, like, are in the wrong of, then I get kind of, like, mad and try to argue back, but usually I don't. Very dramatic! Yep. If you guys don't know what happened last time we read Warrior Cats, well, now you'll find out. But after the prologue. Because the prologue is first. Okay. Can't argue without crying. I can't. I don't know if I can. I can't cry. I don't like crying in front of people. So that's the hardest part for me. I think the last time I cried in front of my mom was when she told me I couldn't get a cat after she said I could get a cat. I was like, why? You said we could. I'm gonna buy it myself. What the heck? And then she was like shook. Because I don't cry ever in front of her. Okay, anyways, let's start. Let's begin. Let's begin. You guys are so distracting. How am I supposed to do anything when all what I want to do is talk to you guys? Okay, I'm settled. Hi, Vanducci! How are we doing today? We're talking about family trauma. But we're good. Okay, let's begin. For real now. For real. Prologue. Inside the kennel that moves, everything was dark. The pack leader could hear the scrambling of claws and feel the sleek pelt of the dog next to him, but he could see nothing. Dog scent filled his nostrils, and beyond that, the smell of the burned forest. The pack leader sat uncomfortably on the vibrating floor until the kennel that moves bounced to a halt. Outside, he could hear man voices. He understood some of the words. Fire. Keep watch. Guard dog. The pack leader picked up the men's fear scent, along with the bitterness smell of cut wood. He remembered coming here the night before, and the night before that, more than 4 paws worth of nights. He had prowled the compound with the rest of the pack, sifting through the scents for intruders, ready to drive them away. The dog snarled softly, his lips drawn back from sharp teeth. The pack was strong. They could run. They could kill. They craved warm blood and the terror scent of prey before it died. But instead, they were penned up. They ate the food the man threw to them, and they obeyed the man's orders. The dog rose to its powerful paws, rattling the doors as he butted them with his massive black and tan head. He lifted his voice in a bark that sounded all the louder in the confined space. Out! Pack, out! Out, now! The rest of the pack added their voices. Pack, out! Pack, run! As if in answer, the doors of the kennel that moved were flung open. In the twilight, the pack leader could see the man standing there, barking an order. The leader jumped down first, close to a pile of logs stacked in the middle of the compound. His paws threw up little puffs of ash and soot. The rest of the pack followed in a stream of black and brown bodies. "Pack follow! Pack follow!" they barked. The leader padded restlessly along the fence that separated them from the forest. Beyond the fence, burned-out tree trunks leaned against each other or lay on the ground. Farther away, a barrier of undamaged trees rustled in the breeze. Scents flowed enticingly from the leaf-thick shadows. The dog's muscles tensed. Out there, in the prey-filled forest, the pack could run free. There would be no man to chain or command them. They would feed as often as they wanted, because they would be the strongest and the most savage of all. "Free!" the dog leader barked. "Pack free! Free soon!" He walked up to the fence and pressed his nose against the mesh links, drawing the smell of the forest deep into his lungs. Many of the scents he had never smelled before, but there was only one he knew well, stronger than the rest, the scent of his enemy and his prey. Cats! Night had fallen. The leafless branches and the blackened trees were silhouetted against the full moon. In the darkness, the dogs rang to and fro, deep shadows in the night. Paws padded softly among soot and sawdust. Muscles rippled under shining coats. Their eyes gleamed. Their jaws were parted, revealing sharp teeth, and their tongues lolled. "These are dogs, yeah." The pack leader sniffed along the bottom of the fence, searching for a special place on the opposite side of the compound from where the man stayed all night. 3 nights ago, the dog had discovered a narrow hole leading under the fence. He knew at once that this would be the route to freedom for the pack. "Hole, where hole?" he growled. Then he spotted the place where the earth floor of the compound fell away into a hollow. One massive paw scraped at the ground. The dog raised his head to bark to his followers. "Here! Hole! Hole! Here!" He could feel their eagerness in his own mind, sharp as thorns, hot as Sharon. They came bounding up to the lead dog, answering his bark. "Hole! Hole!" "Bigger! Hole bigger!" the pack leader promised. "Run soon." He began scraping at the ground again with all the strength in his lean, powerful body. Earth scattering as the hole under the chain-link fence grew wider and deeper. The remaining dogs milled around, sniffing the night air, and carried the sense of prey from the forest. They drooled at the thought of sinking their teeth into the warm bodies of the living prey. The pack leader stopped, ears pricked for the sound of the man coming to check on them, but there was no sign of him. His scent had drifted far away. The lead dog flattened himself on the ground and squirmed down into the hole. The bottom of the fence scraped along his pelt. The dog thrust hard with his hind paws, propelling himself forward until he could scramble up and stand in the forest outside. "Free now!" he barked. "Come, come!" The hole grew deeper still as each dog forced its way through, to stand beside his leader among the burned-out trees. They padded back and forth, pushing their muzzles into the holes at the roots of trees, gazing into the darkness with eyes that glowed like a cold fire. As the last dog dragged itself under the fence, the pack leader raised its head and let out a triumphant bark. "Run! Pack free! Run now!" Turning towards the trees, he bounded away, powerful muscles working in a smooth rhythm. The pack streamed behind, their dark shapes flashing through the forest night. "Pack! Pack!" they thought. "Pack, run!" The whole forest was theirs, and in their mind there was a single instinct. Kill! Kill! Love how Aaron Hunter decided that the dogs couldn't talk. They could only, say, one word. And the cats could have, intellectual conversations. Chapter 1. Fireheart's fur bristled with disbelief and fury as he gazed up at the new leader of ShadowClan standing on the great rock. He watched as the cat swung his massive head from side to side. Muscles rippled under his gleaming pelt, and his amber eyes seemed to grow with triumph. "Tiger Claw!" Fireheart spat. His old enemy, the cat who had tried to kill him more than once, was now one of the most powerful cats in the forest. The full moon rode high above the 4 trees, shedding its cold light over the cats of the 4 clans, assembled there for the gathering. They had all been shocked to learn of the death of Nightstar, the Shadow Clan leader, but no cat in the forest had expected that Shadow Clan's new leader would be Tigerclaw, the former Thunder Clan deputy. Beside Fireheart, Darkstripe was rigid with excitement, his eyes glittering. Fireheart wondered what thoughts were going through the mind of his black-pelted clanmate. When Tigerclaw had been banished from ThunderClan, he had invited his old friend to go with him, but Darkstripe had refused. Was he regretting that decision now? Fireheart caught sight of Sandstorm weaving her way towards him. "What's going on?" the pale ginger she-cat hissed as she came into earshot. "Tigerclaw can't lead Shadow Clan. He's a traitor!" For several heartbeats, Fireheart hesitated. Shortly after he had joined ThunderClan, Fireheart had discovered that Tigerclaw had murdered Redtail, the deputy. Once Tigerclaw became deputy himself, he had let rogue cats to attack the ThunderClan camp, trying to murder their leader, Bluestar, so that he could take her place. As punishment, he had been banished from their clan and into the forest. It was hardly a noble history for a leader of any clan. "But Shadow Clan don't know about all that," Fireheart reminded Sandstorm now, keeping his voice low. "None of the other clans know." "Then you should tell them!" Fireheart glanced up at Tallstar and Crookedstar, the leaders of Wind Clan and River Clan respectively, who stood beside Tigerstar on the great rock. Would they listen if he told them what he knew? ShadowClan had suffered so much from Broken Tail's bloodthirsty leadership, followed by a devastating sickness, that they probably wouldn't care what their new leader had done, as long as he could forge them into a strong clan again. Besides, Fireheart couldn't help feeling a guilty relief that Tigerclaw had satisfied his hunger for power in a different clan. Maybe now ThunderClan could stop waiting for him to attack, and Fireheart could walk in the forest without constantly glancing over his shoulder. Yet, as he struggled with his conflicting emotions, he knew he would never forgive himself if he let Tigerclaw come to power even without making a protest. Welcome back! Fireheart! He turned to see Cloudpaw, his long-furred white apprentice, padding quickly towards him, with the wiry brown warrior Mousefur just behind. Fireheart, are you just gonna stand there and let that piece of fox dung take over? Quiet, Cloudpaw, Fireheart ordered. I know, He broke off as Tigerclaw paced in front of the great rock. I am pleased to be here with you all at the gathering this night. The huge tabby spoke with quiet authority. I stand here before you as the new leader of Shadow Clan. Nightstar died of the sickness that took so many of my clan, and StarClan have named me his successor. Tallstar, the black and white leader of Wind Clan, turned to him. Welcome, Tigerstar, he meowed, nodding respectfully. May StarClan walk with you. Crookedstar meowed in agreement as the new Shadow Clan leader dipped his head in acknowledgement. Thank you for your greetings, Tigerstar replied. It's an honor to stand here with you, although I wish the circumstances could have been different. Wait a moment, Tallstar interrupted him. There should be 4 of us here. He peered down at the crowd of cats below. Where's the leader of ThunderClan? Go on. Fireheart felt a cat nudge him and glanced around to see that Whitestorm had joined the other ThunderClan warriors. You're taking Bluestar's place, remember? Fireheart nodded to him, suddenly unable to speak. He bunched his muscles and got ready to spring. A heartbeat later, he was scrambling on top of the great rock to stand beside the 3 leaders. For a moment, the unfamiliar viewpoint took his breath away. He seemed to be far above the hollow, watching the changing patterns of light and dark on the cats below as the moon shone through the branches of the 4 massive oak trees. Fireheart shivered as he caught the pale gleam reflected from countless pairs of eyes. Fireheart? He looked up as Tallstar spoke. Why are you here? Has something happened to Bluestar? Fireheart dipped his head respectfully. Our leader breathed smoke in the fire. She's not yet well enough to travel, but she'll recover, he added hastily. It's nothing serious. Telstar nodded, and Crooked Star broke in testily. Are we ever gonna start? We're wasting moonlight. Without waiting for a reply, the pale Tabby River Clan leader gave a yowl that signaled the beginning of the meeting. When the murmuring of the cats below had died away, he meowed. Cats of all clans, welcome to the gathering. Tonight we are joined by a new leader, Tiger Star. He beckoned to the massive warrior with a flick of his tail. Tiger Star, are you ready to speak now? Thanking him with a courteous nod, Tiger Star stepped forward to address the assembled cats. I stand here before you by the will of Star Clan. Nightstar was a noble warrior, but he was old, and he did not have the strength to fight the sickness when it came. His deputy, Cinderfur, died too. Suspicious. Fireheart felt his fur prickling with unease as he listened. Clan leaders received 9 lives when they went to share tongues with Star Clan in Mothermouth, and Nightstar had become a leader only a few seasons ago. What had happened to his 9 lives? Had ShadowClan's sickness been so violent that it had taken all of them? Looking down, Fireheart caught sight of Runny Nose, the ShadowClan medicine cat, sitting with his head bowed. Fireheart could not see his face, but his hunched posture suggested that he was lost in misery. It must be hard for him, Fireheart thought, to know that all his skill had not been enough to save his leader. StarClan brought me to ShadowClan when it was needed. Tigerclaw continued from the top of the great rock. Not enough cats survived the sickness to hunt for the nursing queens and the elders, or to defend their clan, and no warrior was ready to take on leadership. Then StarClan sent an omen to Runny Nose that another great leader would arise. I swear by all our warrior ancestors that I will become that leader. Out of the corner of his eye, Fireheart noticed Runny Nose was shifting uncomfortably. For some reason, he looked unhappy at the mention of the omen. Fireheart suddenly realized that his own task had become much harder. If there had been an omen, then StarClan themselves must have chosen Tiger Star as the new leader of ShadowClan. Surely it was not the place of Fireheart or any other clan cat to question their decision. What could he say now that would not seem to challenge the will of their warrior ancestors? Thanks to StarClan, Tiger Star went on. I had other cats to bring with me who have proven themselves willing to hunt and fight for their new clan. Fireheart knew exactly which cats Tiger Star meant, the band of rogues who had attacked ThunderClan camp. He could see one of them just below the great rock, a huge ginger Tom, sitting with his tail curled around his paws. Last time Fireheart had seen him, he had been grappling with Brindleface, trying to break into ThunderClan nursery. Ironically, some of these rogues had grown up in ShadowClan and had supported the tyrannical leader, Broken Tail. They had been driven out when their leader was They had been driven out with their leader when ThunderClan had come to the aid of the oppressed clan. Tallstar stepped forward, a doubtful look in his eyes. Broken Tail's allies were cruel and bloodthirsty, just as he was. Is it really wise to let them back into the clan? Fireheart could understand Tallstar's misgivings, since these cats had driven WindClan from their territory and had almost destroyed them. He wondered how many ShadowClan warriors shared his concern. After all, Broken Tail's own clan had suffered almost as much as WindClan had from their murderous leader's rule. He was surprised they would take the outlaws back. Broken Tail's warriors obeyed him, Tiger Star replied calmly. Which of you wouldn't do the same for your own leader? The warrior code says that a leader's word is law. He swiped his tongue around his muzzle before continuing. These cats were loyal to Broken Tail. They will be loyal to me now. Blackfoot, who is Broken Tail's deputy, is my deputy now. Tallstar still looks suspicious, but Tiger Star met his gaze steadily. Tallstar, you are right to hate Broken Tail. He did great harm to your clan. But let me remind you that it was not my decision to take him into ThunderClan and care for him. I spoke against that from the first. But when Blue Star insisted on giving him sanctuary, loyalty to my leader meant that I had to support her. The WindClan leader hesitated and then bowed his head. That's true, he meowed. Then all I ask is that you trust me, and give my warriors a chance to show that they can honor the warrior code and prove their loyalty to Shadow Clan once more. With the help of Star Clan, my first task is to make Shadow Clan well and strong again. Tiger Star vowed. Perhaps Fireheart thought hopefully, now that Tiger Star had achieved his ambition, he really would become a great leader. He had said that the outlaws deserved another chance. Perhaps the same was true of Tiger Star himself. Yet every hair on Fireheart's pelt was prickling. He still wanted to make it clear to Tiger Star that ThunderClan was not his for the taking. He was so deep in thought he hardly realized that Tiger Star had finished addressing the assembled clans. Fireheart, Tallstar meowed, do you want to speak now? Fireheart swallowed nervously, then pouted forward, the rock cool and smooth beneath his paws. Below, he could see Sandstorm and the other ThunderClan cats looking up at him expectantly. The pale ginger she-cat was watching him with a glow of admiration in her eyes. Feeling encouraged, Fireheart began to speak. He wasn't going to pretend that the ThunderClan camp had not been devastated by the recent fire, but he did not want to give the impression that the clan was weak. Leopardfur, the River Clan deputy, was listening intently as Fireheart glanced at her as she narrowed her eyes, as if she were measuring his words carefully. RiverClan had helped ThunderClan escape from the fire, and no cat knew better than Leopardfur how vulnerable they were. A few dawns ago, Fireheart reported, fire started in the tall tree-cut place and swept through our camp. Halftail and Patchpelt died, and the clan honors them. And we especially honor Yellowfang. She went back into the burning camp to rescue Halftail. He bowed his head, memories of the old medicine cat threatening to overwhelm him. I found her in her den, and I was with her when she died. Wails of dismay broke out among the listening cats. Not only ThunderClan had reason to grieve for Yellowfang's death. Fireheart noticed Runny Nose sitting erect and gazing upward, his eyes clouded with sorrow. He had been Yellowfang's apprentice when she was ShadowClan's medicine cat, before Broken Tail drove her out. Our new medicine cat will be Cinderpelt, Fireheart went on. Bluestar suffered from breathing in the smoke, but she is recovering. None of our kits were harmed. We are rebuilding our camp. He did not mention the shortage of prey in the burned stretch of the forest, or the way that the camp was still open to attack, in spite of their efforts to rebuild the walls. We must thank RiverClan, he added, with a respectful glance at Crooked Star. They gave us shelter in their camp during the fire. Without their help, more of our cats might have died. As Crooked Star acknowledged his words with a nod, Fireheart couldn't resist glancing down at Leopardfur again. The RiverClan deputy hadn't shifted her amber gaze from him. Yellowfang died, I know! Pausing to take a deep breath, Fireheart turned to Tiger Star. ThunderClan accepts that StarClan has approved your leadership, he meowed. As rogues, your followers stole from all 4 clans while they roamed the forest, so it is good that they have their own clan again. We trust that they will be bound by the warrior code and will keep in their own territory. He thought he could see a gleam of surprise in Tiger Star's eyes, and continued firmly. But we will not tolerate any invasion into ThunderClan territory. In spite of the fire, we are strong enough to drive out any cat who sets a paw over our border. We have no fear of ShadowClan. 1 or 2 yells of agreement rose from his own warriors below. Tiger Star gave a slight dip of his head and spoke in a low rumble that carried no further than the other cats on top of the great rock. Brave words, Fireheart. You have nothing to fear from ShadowClan. Fireheart wished that he could believe him. Bowing his head in acknowledgement, he stepped back again, his fur flattening in relief that his turn to speak was over, and listened while Tallstar and Crooked Star gave news from their own clans. Word of new apprentices and warriors, and a warning of extra 2 legs by the river. When the formal part of the meeting was over, Fireheart sprung down towards the group of ThunderClan warriors at the base of the rock. You spoke well, meowed Whitestorm. Sandstorm's eyes shone as she looked at Fireheart, and she pressed her muzzle against his neck. Fireheart gave her cheek a quick lick. It's time to go, he meowed. Say your goodbyes, and if any cat asks, tell them that ThunderClan is doing fine. Throughout the clearing, the groups of cats were breaking up as all 4 clans prepared to leave. Fireheart began looking around for the rest of his warriors. He caught sight of a familiar blue-gray shape and bounded across the hollow to join her. "Hello, Mistyfoot," he meowed. "How are you? How's Graystripe? I didn't see him here tonight." Graystripe had been Fireheart's first friend in ThunderClan. They had trained together as apprentices. But then Graystripe had fallen in love with Silverstream, a young River Clan warrior, and she had died bearing his kits. Graystripe had left his own clan to go with them to River Clan, and though seasons had passed, Fireheart still missed him. Graystripe didn't come. The River Clan queen sat down and curled her tail neatly around her paws. Leopard Fur wouldn't let him. She was furious about the way he behaved during the fire. She says that that in his heart he's still loyal to ThunderClan. Fireheart had to admit that Leopard Fur was probably right. Graystripe had already asked Bluestar if he could come back to ThunderClan, and she had refused. "You missed a lot." Yeah. "So, how is he?" Fireheart repeated. "He's fine," Mistyfoot meowed. "So are the kits. He asked me to find out how you were doing after the fire." "Bluestar's not seriously ill, you say?" "No, she'll be better soon." Fireheart tried to sound confident. It was true that Bluestar was recovering from the effects of breathing smoke, but for some moons now the ThunderClan leader's mind had been clouded. She had begun to doubt her own judgment, and even to question the loyalty of her warriors. The discovery of Tiger Star's treachery had shaken her to her core, and Fireheart couldn't help worrying about how she would react to the news that the deputy she had exiled was now leader of ShadowClan. "I'm glad to hear that she's recovering." Mistyfoot Mew broke into his thoughts. Fireheart's ears twitched. "How's Crooked Star?" he asked, changing the subject. The RiverClan leader had seemed frail when he had allowed ThunderClan to shelter in his camp, and tonight, next to Tiger Star, he looked even older than Fireheart remembered. But maybe that wasn't surprising. The RiverClan leader had had to cope with floods that had driven his cats out of their camp, and with the shortage of prey because two-leg rubbish had poisoned the river. More than that, Graystripe's beloved Silverstream had been Crooked Star's daughter, and her death had caused him much grief. "He's okay," meowed Mistyfoot. "He's been through a lot recently. Mind you, I'm more concerned about Graypool," she added, naming the cat who had raised her from kithood. "She seems so old now. I'm afraid she'll go to StarClan soon." Fireheart would have liked to give the young queen a comforting lick, but he was not sure how the RiverClan cat would take that from a cat from another clan. Apart from Graypool, Fireheart was the only cat who knew that the frail RiverClan elder was not the real mother of Mistyfoot and her brother, Stonefur. Their father, Oakheart, had rocked them to RiverClan when they were tiny kits, and Graypool had agreed to take care of them. Their real mother was Bluestar. As Fireheart murmured sympathetically and said his goodbyes to Mistyfoot, he couldn't help feeling that trouble was still in store for both clans because of Bluestar's secret. Chapter 2. Okay, I have to drink. My throat is raw. How did I used to voice Tiger Star so frequently because he was obviously always on Fireheart's butt. But now that I'm doing it again after like not doing it for a while, my throat is like that's the sound of my throat. Chapter 2. The sky was growing pale with the first light of dawn when Fireheart and his warriors returned to ThunderClan camp. Although Fireheart knew what he would find, it was still a shock to reach the top of the ravine and gaze down at the devastation. All of the covering of the gorse and fern had been stripped away by the fire. The earth floor of the camp was left exposed, surrounded by the blackened remains of the wall of thorn bushes that was shored up with the branches where the clan cats had begun to repair it. "Will it ever be the same?" Sunstorm meowed softly as she came to stand beside him. A wave of exhaustion flooded over Fireheart as he thought of how much time and work it would take before the camp was fully rebuilt. "One day," he promised. "We've been through bad times before. We'll survive." He pressed his muzzle against Sandstorm's flank, taking comfort from her reassuring purr before he led the way down the ravine. Are they dating now? Or are they just like in that, like, will they, won't they phase? where they're like flirting constantly and everyone's like watching them. Because they keep like rubbing against each other, you know? Like nuzzling. But they haven't like said it in words, you know? They haven't said, yo, will you be my mate? Or actually, I love you. I feel like they wouldn't say, will you be my mate? They'd be like, I love you. I want to be with you forever. I guess we'll see. The bush where the warriors slept was still there, but the thick canopy of twigs that had been burned away. Only a few charred branches remained, the gaps between them interwoven with sticks. Breakenfur was crouched outside, while Longtail sat on watch near the entrance of the nursery, and Dustpelt paced back and forth in front of the elder's den. Breakenfur sprang to his paws as Fireheart and the others appeared, only to relax a moment later. "It's you," he meowed, relief in his voice. "We've been expecting Tigerclaw all night." "Well, you can stop worrying," Fireheart meowed. He's too busy to worry about us. Tiger Star is the new leader of Shadow Clan. Breakenfur stared in astonishment. "Great Star Clan," he said with a gasp. "I don't believe it." "What did you say?" Fireheart turned to see Longtail lopping across the clearing. "Did I hear you right?" "You did." Fireheart could see the shock in the tabby warrior's face. Tiger Star has taken over Shadow Clan. "And they let him?" meowed Longtail. "Are they mad?" "Not mad at all," Whitestorm replied, coming up to stand beside Fireheart. The elderly warrior scraped the bare earth with his paws and settled down on his haunches with a tired sigh. His thick white fur was stained with soot after the journey back through the forest. "The sickness almost destroyed Shadow Clan cats. They were desperate for a strong leader. Tiger Star must have seemed like a gift from Star Clan." "It sounds like it's just what he was," Fireheart agreed heavily. Apparently Star Clan sent an omen to Running Nose to tell Shadow Clan that a great new leader would arise. "But Tiger Star's a traitor," Breakenfur protested. "Shadow Clan don't know that," Fireheart pointed out. By this time, other cats were appearing. Brightpaw and Swiftpaw ran over from the apprentice den. Dustpelt padded up with Darkstripe's apprentice, Fernpaw. Speckletail peered curiously out from the nursery. As they pressed around Fireheart with their questions, he had to raise his voice to make himself heard. "Listen, all of you," he meowed. "There's something you all need to hear. And I have to tell Bluestar," he added silently, bracing himself for the encounter. "Whitestorm will tell you what happened at the gathering," he went on, "and then I want to dawn patrol." He hesitated, looking around at the assembled cats. All the warriors were tired. Those who hadn't been in the gathering had stayed awake to guard the camp. Before Fireheart could decide who to send, Dustpelt spoke. "Ashpaw and I will go." Fireheart dipped his head gratefully. The brown warrior had never been friendly towards him, but he was a loyal cat to ThunderClan, and he seemed to accept Fireheart's authority as deputy. "I'll go too," Musfer offered. "And me," meowed Cloudpaw. Fireheart let out a purr of appreciation at his apprentice's words. He was pleased that his sister's son was working harder for the clan and showing more commitment to clan life after the disastrous episode when he was taken away by Two Legs and had to be rescued. "Dustpelt, Mousefur, Cloudpaw, and Ashpaw, then," he meowed. "The rest of you get some sleep. We'll need a hunting patrol later on." "What about you?" asked Darkstripe. Fireheart took a deep breath. "I'm gonna speak to Bluestar." The curtain of lichen that had been burned away from the entrance to Bluestar's den at the base of the high rock. As Fireheart approached, Cinderpelt, ThunderClan's medicine cat, emerged into the clearing and paused to stretch. Her dark gray fur was ruffled, and she looked worn out from the strain of carrying the clan in the aftermath of the fire, but the strength of her spirit still shone in her blue eyes. Fireheart was reminded of the time when she had been his eager apprentice, until she had been lured too close to the Thunder Path in a trap which Tigerclaw had set for Bluestar. The young cat's leg had been permanently injured, so she could never be a warrior, but she had always kept her commitment to serving her clan. Fireheart padded up to her. "How's Bluestar today?" he asked quietly. Cinderpelt cast a worried glance back into her den. She didn't sleep last night, she replied. I've given her juniper berries to calm her, but I don't know if they'll do any good. Wait, that's not the voice I give Cinderpelt. Anyways. I need to tell her what happened at the gathering, Fireheart meowed, and she's not gonna like that. Cinderpelt's eyes narrowed. Why not? As quickly as he could, Fireheart told her. Cinderpelt listened in shocked silence, her blue eyes wide with amazement. What will you do? She asked Fireheart when he had finished. There isn't much I can do. Besides, it could be a good thing for ThunderClan. Tigerstar's got what he wants now, and with any luck, he's going to be far too busy working his new clan into shape to bother us. Seeing that Cinderpelt looked disbelieving, he added hastily, Who they chose for leader is ShadowClan's business. We'll have to keep watch on our borders, but I don't believe Tigerstar will be much of a threat, for a while at least. I'm more worried about how Bluestar's going to take it. This is going to make her worse, Cinderpaw meowed anxiously. I hope I can find the right herbs to help her. I wish Yellowfang were here. I know. Fireheart pressed himself comfortably against Cinderpelt's side, but you'll be fine. You're a great medicine cat. It's not just that. Cinderpelt's voice dropped into a painful whisper. I miss her, Fireheart. I keep waiting for her to tell me I haven't the sense of a newborn kit. At least when she praised me, I knew she really meant it. I want her, Fireheart, her scent and the feel of her fur and the sound of her voice. I know, Fireheart murmured. He felt an emptiness inside as memories of the old cat flooded over him. He had been very close to Yellowfang ever since he had discovered her living as a rogue in ThunderClan territory, but she hunts with StarClan now. And perhaps she had found peace at last, he reflected, as he remembered the torment in Yellowfang's voice as she died, thinking of her son, Broken Tail, the murderous cat she had never stopped loving, even though he had grown up without knowing she was his mother. In the end, she had killed him to save her adopted clan from his bloodthirsty scheming. Yellowfang's pain was at an end, but Fireheart could not imagine that he could ever stop missing her. You go to the High Stone soon, don't you? Oh, sorry. You go to the High Stone soon, don't you? He reminded Cinderpelt, to meet the other medicine cats. I think you'll feel very close to Yellowfang then. Maybe you're right. Cinderpelt pushed away from him. I can just hear Yellowfang now, she meowed. Why are you standing around moaning when there's work to be done? You go and talk to Bluestar. I'll look in on her again a bit later. If you're sure you're okay, mewed Fireheart. I'm fine. Cinderpelt gave his ear a quick lick. Be strong for her, Fireheart, she urged. She needs you more than ever. Fireheart watched the medicine cat as she limped rapidly away, and then turned towards Bluestar's den. Taking a deep breath, he called a greeting and entered through the gap where the lichen used to grow. Bluestar was crouched on a pile of bedding at the back of the cave, her forepaws tucked under her chest. Her head was raised, and she was not looking at Fireheart. Instead, her blue eyes were blank, fixed on something far away that only she could see. Her pelt was rough and unwashed, and she was so thin that Fireheart could see every rib. Oh my God. His heart twisted with pity for her and fear for the rest of his clan. Their leader had diminished into an old, sick cat, broken by trouble and unable to defend herself, let alone her clan. Bluestar? Fireheart meowed hesitantly. At first he thought that Bluestar had not heard him. Then, as he padded further into the den, she turned her head. Her cloudy blue gaze focused on him, and for a heartbeat she looked puzzled, as if she couldn't remember who he was. Then her ears pricked, and intelligence flooded back into her eyes. Fireheart, Fireheart, what do you want? Fireheart dipped his head respectfully. I'm just back from the gathering, Bluestar. I'm afraid there's bad news. He paused. Well? Bluestar sounded irritable. What is it? ShadowClan has a new leader. Fireheart meowed. He plunged straight on. It's Tigerclaw. Tigerstar now. In an instant, Bluestar leapt to her paws. Her eyes blazed cold fire, and Fireheart flinched at the reminder of the formidable cat she had once been. That's impossible, she hissed. No, it's true. I saw him myself. He spoke from the great rock with the other leaders. For a few moments, Blue Star did not reply. She paced from one side of her den to the other and back again, her tail lashing. Fireheart backed towards the entrance, not at all sure that Blue Star would attack him for bringing his terrible news. "How dare ShadowClan do this?" she spat at last. "How dare they shelter the cat who tried to murder me and make him their leader?" "Blue Star, they didn't know," Fireheart began, but the ThunderClan leader was not listening to him. "And the other leaders?" she demanded. "What did they think? How could they let this happen?" "No cat knows what Tiger Star did to ThunderClan." Fireheart struggled to make Blue Star think logically. Crooked Star didn't say much, although Tall Star was unhappy at first that Tiger Star had taken Broken Tail's old followers back into the clan. "Tall Star!" Blue Star spat. "We should know by now that we can't trust him. After all, it didn't take him long to forget what we did for his clan. After you and Greystripe risked your lives to find them and bring them home." Fireheart started to protest, but Blue Star ignored him. "StarClan have abandoned us," she went on, still pacing furiously. "They told me that fire would save the clan, but fire has almost destroyed us. How can I ever trust StarClan again, especially now? They have granted a leader of 9 lives to that traitor. They care nothing for me or for ThunderClan." Fireheart flinched. "Blue Star, listen." "No, Fireheart, you listen." Blue Star patted over to him. Her fur was fluffed up and her teeth bared in anger. "ThunderClan is doomed. Tall Star will lead ShadowClan to destroy us all, and we can expect no help from StarClan." Tall Star didn't seem hostile. Fireheart was desperately trying to get through to his leader. When he spoke, all he seemed to care about was leading his new clan. Blue Star let out a crack of a harsh laughter. "If you believe that, Fireheart, you're a fool. Tiger Star will be here before Leaffall. You mark my words, but he'll find us waiting for him. If we're all gonna die, we'll take a few ShadowClan with us." She began pacing rapidly back and forth again, while Fireheart watched, appalled. "Double the patrols," she ordered. "Set a watch on the camp. Send cats to guard the border with ShadowClan." "We haven't enough warriors for all that," Fireheart objected. "Every cat is exhausted with the extra work for building the camp. It's all we can do to keep up regular patrols." "Are you questioning my orders?" Blue Star whipped around to face him again, drawing her lips back in a snarl. Her eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Or are you going to betray me too?" "No, Blue Star, no! You can trust me." Fireheart tensed his muscles, half expecting that he would need to dodge Blue Star's slashing claws. Suddenly, the old leader relaxed. "I know, Fireheart. You've always been loyal, not like these others." As if the strength of her fury had exhausted her, she limped back to her bedding. "Set the patrols," she ordered, sinking down into the soft moss and heather. "Do it now, before ShadowClan makes crow food of us all." "Yes, Blue Star." Fireheart saw no point in arguing anymore. He bowed his head and backed out of the den. Blue Star's gaze was once more fixed on something unseen. Fireheart wondered if she was looking into the future and watching the destruction of her clan. Blue Star is wilding. Poor Blue. Oh my god. She used to be so wise. Now she's a little bonkers. Chapter 3. Onset dementia. Yeah, unfortunately. Get some CBD oil. That would help, honestly. Chapter 3. Fireheart opened his eyes and blinked. Wait, guys. I got this, little fan. And it's supposed to, spray, a mist at me. But can you hear it? I'm gonna turn it on. It's like a desk fan. Can you hear that? When I talk? Or is it I'd fight the fan if it sprayed me with anything. But no, very quiet. Okay, good. Good. It's nice. I need it to blow upon my face. Okay. Where was I? Fireheart opened his eyes and blinked in the uncomfortable bright sunlight. He still couldn't get used to the way the sun shone straight into the warrior's den now that the thick covering of leaves had gone. Yawning, he uncurled himself and shook the clinging scraps of moss from his coat. Close beside him, Sandstorm was still asleep. Dustpelt and Darkstripe were curled up a little farther away. Fireheart padded out into the clearing. It was 3 days since the gathering and the discovery of Tigerstar's new leadership, and there was still no sign of the attack Bluestar had feared. ThunderClan had used the time to rebuild the camp, and although there was still a long way to go, Fireheart couldn't help feeling pleased when he saw shady walls of fern beginning to grow back around the edge of the camp, and the bramble thicket firmly interlaced with twigs to shelter the nursing queens and their kits. As Fireheart made his way towards the pile of fresh kill, he saw the Dawn Patrol returning with Whitestorm in the lead. Fireheart paused and waited for a while. Waited for the White Warrior to join him. Any sign of ShadowClan? Whitestorm shook his head. Nothing, he meowed. Just the usual scent markings along their border. There was one thing, though. Fireheart's ears pricked. What? Not far from Snake Rocks, we found a whole stretch of undergrowth trampled down, and pigeon feathers scattered all over it. Pigeon feathers? Fireheart echoed. I haven't seen a pigeon for days. Is some other can hunting in our territory? I don't think so. The whole place reeked of dog. Whitestorm wrinkled his nose with distaste. There was a dog dirt there, too. Oh, a dog. Fireheart flicked his tail dismissively. Well, we all know that two-legs are always bringing their dogs into the forest. They run around, chase a few squirrels, and then the two-legs take them home again. He let out a purr of amusement. The only unusual thing is that it looks as if this one caught something. To his surprise, Whitestorm continued to look serious. All the same, I think you should tell the patrols to keep their eyes open, he meowed. Okay. Fireheart respected the older warrior too much to ignore his advice, but privately he thought the dog would be a long way away for now, shut up somewhere in Two-Leg Place. Dogs were a noisy nuisance, but he had more important things to worry about. He was reminded of his anxiety about food supplies as he followed Whitestorm to the pile of fresh kill. Brightpaw, Whitestorm's apprentice, and Cloudpaw, who had made up the rest of the patrol, were already there. Look at this! Cloudpaw complained as Fireheart came up. He turned a Vole over with one paw. There's hardly a decent mouthful of it. Prey's scarce, Fireheart reminded him, noticing there were only a few pieces of fresh kill on the pile. Any creature that survived the fire can't find much to eat. But we need to hunt again, Cloudpaw meowed. He bit into the Vole and swallowed. I'll go as soon as I finish this. You can come with me, meowed Fireheart, selecting a magpie for himself. I'm gonna lead out a patrol later on. No, I can't wait, Cloudpaw mumbled through another mouthful. I'm so hungry I could eat you. Brightpaw, do you want to come with me? Brightpaw, who was neatly tucking into a mouse, glanced at her mentor for permission. When Whitestorm nodded, she sprang out. Ready when you are. All right, then, mewed Fireheart. He was slightly annoyed that Cloudpaw hadn't asked for his mentor's permission like Brightpaw, but the clan did need fresh kill, and both the apprentices were good hunters. Don't go too far from camp, he warned. But all the best prey is further away, where the fire didn't reach, Cloudpaw objected. We'll be fine, Fireheart, he promised. We'll hunt for the elders first. Swallowing the last of his Vole in one enormous gulp, he dashed off towards the camp entrance with Brightpaw racing after him. Stay away from Two-Leg Place, Fireheart called after them, remembering how Cloudpaw had once been all too fond of visiting the Two-Legs. The apprentice had paid a harsh price when they had taken him away to their nest on the far side of WindClan's territory. As Greenleaf drew to an end, with the prospect of Hungry Leaf Bear to come, Fireheart hoped that his apprentice wouldn't be tempted back to his old ways. Apprentices. Oh, sorry. He has less of a growl. Apprentices. Whitestorm purred as he watched the two young cats bounding away. Dawn Patrol, and now they're off hunting. I wish I had their energy. He dragged a blackbird a little way from the pile of fresh kill and crouched down to eat. As Fireheart finished his magpie, he saw Sandstorm padding across from the warrior's den. The The sun shone on her pale ginger coat, and Fireheart admired the ripple of her fur as she moved. "Do you want to come hunt with me?" he asked as she approached. "Looks as if we need it," Sandstorm replied, surveying the pitiful few pieces of fresh kill that remained. "Let's go now. I can wait to eat until we catch something." Fireheart looked around for another cat to join them and noticed Longtail headed for the apprentice's den, calling for Swiftpaw. "Hey, Longtail!" he meowed as the two cats padded across the clearing. "Come and join our hunting patrol." Longtail hesitated, as if he wasn't sure whether that was an order from his deputy or not. "We were going to the training hollow," he explained. "Swiftpaw needs to practice his defense moves. You can do that later." This time, Fireheart made it clear that he was giving an order. The clan needs fresh kill first. Longtail flicked his tail irritably, but said nothing. Swiftpaw was looking more enthusiastic, his eyes bright. The young black and white Tom had grown almost as big as his mentor, Fireheart noticed. That must be so funny to see. He was the oldest of the apprentices, and he could expect to become a warrior soon. I must talk to Bluestar about his naming ceremony, Fireheart thought. Cloudpaw too, and Brightpaw and Thornpaw. The clan needs more warriors. Leaving Whitestorm to take a well-earned rest, Fireheart led his hunting party out of camp and up the ravine. At the top, he turned towards Sunning Rocks. Doing his best to carry out Bluestar's order about doubling the patrols, he had instructed all the hunting parties to do border duty as well, staying alert for other clans' scents, or any signs of enemy presence. In particular, he had warned them to keep a careful watch on Shadow Clan border, but privately he resolved not to neglect River Clan. He had an uneasy feeling about their relationship with ThunderClan. With Crooked Star growing old, his deputy, Leopard Fur, would have more authority, and Fireheart still expected her to ask for something in return for RiverClan's help on the night of that fire. As Fireheart led the way towards the river, he noticed plants pushing their way up towards the blackened soil. Through the blackened soil, new ferns were beginning to uncoil, and green tendrils spread out to cover the earth. The forest was beginning to recover, but as leaf fall approached, growth would slow down. Fireheart was still worried that his clan was headed for a cold and comfortless leaf bear. When they reached Sunning Rocks, Longtail led Swiftpaw into one of the gullies between the rocks. "You can practice listening for mice and voles," he told his apprentice. "See if you can catch something before the rest of us." Fireheart watched them go approvingly. The pale tabby warrior was a conscientious mentor, and a strong bond had grown between him and Swiftpaw. Fireheart skirted the rocks on the side that faced the river, where more of the grass and foliage had survived. It was not long before he spotted a mouse scuffling among some bitterly grassed stems. As it sat up, nibbling a seed clasped in its forepaws, Fireheart sprung and finished it off swiftly. "Good work," Sandstorm murmured, padding up to him. "Do you want it?" Fireheart asked, pushing the fresh kill towards her with one paw. "You haven't eaten yet." "No thanks," meowed Sandstorm tartly. "I can catch my own." She slipped off into the shadow of a hazel tree. Fireheart looked after her, wondering if he'd offended her, and then started to scrape the earth over his prey so it could be collected later. You want to watch out with that one," a voice meowed behind him. "She'll claw off your ears if you're not careful." Fireheart spun around. His old friend Greystripe was standing on the border with RiverClan, further down the slope towards the river. Water gleamed on his thick gray pelt. "Greystripe!" Fireheart exclaimed. "You startled me!" Greystripe gave himself a shake and sent droplets sparkling into the air. "I saw you from the other side of the river," he mewed. "Never thought I'd find you catching prey for Sandstorm. Specialty, is she?" "I don't know what you're talking about," Fireheart protested. His fur suddenly felt hot and prickled as if ants were crawling through it. "Sandstorm's just a friend." Greystripe let out a purr of amusement. "Oh, sure, if you say so." He strolled up the slope and lowered his head to butt Fireheart affectionately on the shoulder. "You're lucky, Fireheart. She's a very impressive cat." Fireheart opened his mouth and then closed it again. Greystripe wouldn't be convinced no matter what he said, and besides, maybe he was right. Maybe Sandstorm was becoming more than a friend. "Never mind that," he meowed, changing the subject. "Tell me how you're getting on. What's the news in RiverClan?" The laughter died from Graystripe's yellow eyes. Not much. Every cat's talking about Tiger Star. When Graystripe had been a ThunderClan warrior, he and Fireheart had been the only cats to know the truth about Tiger Star's murderous ambition, and that he had killed the former ThunderClan deputy, Redtail. I don't know what to make of it, Fireheart admitted. Tiger Star might be different now that he's got what he wants. No cat can deny that he could make a great leader. He's strong, he can fight and hunt, and he knows the warrior code by heart. But no cat can trust him, Graystripe growled. What's the point of knowing the warrior code if all you're gonna do is ignore what it says? It's not up to us to trust him now, Fireheart pointed out. He's got a new clan, and Runny Nose reported an omen that seemed to say StarClan would be sending them a great new leader. StarClan must know that ShadowClan needs a strong warrior to build them up again after the sickness. Graystripe didn't look convinced. StarClan sent him? He snorted. I'll believe that when hedgehogs fly. Fire couldn't help agreeing with Graystripe that it would be hard to trust Tiger Star. Making his new clan healthy again might occupy him for a season or two, but after that, the thought of the fierce warrior at the head of a strong clan sent a shudder through Fireheart from ears to tail tip. He couldn't believe that Tiger Star would settle down into a peaceful life in the forest, respecting the rights of the other three clans. Sooner or later, he would want to extend his territory, and his first target would be ThunderClan. If I were you, meowed Graystripe, echoing his thoughts, I'd keep a very careful watch on my borders. Yes, Fireheart began. He broke off as he saw Sandstorm coming towards them, a young rabbit dangling from her jaws. She patted across the pebbles and dropped their prey at Fireheart's feet. Looking more relaxed, as if she had gotten over her brief annoyance, she nodded to the RiverClan warrior. Hey, Graystripe, she mewed. How are the kits? They're fine, thanks, Graystripe replied. Her eyes glowed with pride. They'll be apprenticed soon. Will you mentor one of them? Fireheart asked. To his surprise, Graystripe looked uncertain. I don't know, he meowed. Hydrate. Okay, I'll hydrate. I'll hydrate with lemonade and water, both of them. Nose itchy. Where was I? If it were Crooked Star's decision, maybe. But he doesn't do much these days except sleep. Leopard organizes most things now, and she'll never forgive me for the way White Claw died. I think she'll probably give the kits to some other warriors to mentor. He bowed his head. Fireheart realized he still felt guilty about the death of the RiverClan warrior who had fallen into the gorge when his patrol attacked the small group of ThunderClan warriors. That's tough. That's rough, buddy, meowed Fireheart, pressing himself comfortingly against Graystripe's side. But you can see her point, Sandstorm pointed out mildly. Leopard Fur will want to make sure that the kits are brought up to be completely loyal to RiverClan. Graystripe swung his head around to face her, his fur bristling. That's just what I would do! I don't want my kids to grow up feeling torn between two clans. His eyes clouded. I know what that's like. Pain for his friend flooded over Fireheart. After the fire, Graystripe had shown how unhappy he was in his new clan, and clearly things were no better now. Fireheart wanted to say, come home, but he knew he had no right to offer Graystripe a place in the clan when Blue Star had already refused. Speak to Crooked Star, he suggested. Ask him yourself about the kits. And try to stay on the good side of Leopard Fur, added Sandstorm. Don't let her catch you crossing the ThunderClan border. Graystripe flinched. Maybe you're right. I'd better get going back. Goodbye, Sandstorm. Fireheart. Try to come to the next gathering, Fireheart urged. Graystripe flicked his tail in acknowledgement and padded off down the slope. Halfway to the river, he turned, meowed, Wait there a moment, and raced down to the edge of the water. For several heartbeats, he sat motionless on a flat stone, gazing down into the shadows. Hi, warrior! Now what's he up to? Sandstorm muttered. Before Fireheart could reply, Graystripe's paw darted out. A silver fish shot out of the stream and fell to the bank, where it lay flopping and wriggling. Graystripe finished it off with a single blow of his paw and dragged it back up the slope where Fireheart and Sandstorm stood watching. Here, he meowed as he dropped it. I know prey must be scarce since the fire. That should help a bit. Thanks, meowed Fireheart, and added admiringly, that was a neat trick back there. Graystripe let out a purr of satisfaction. Mistyfoot showed me how. It's very welcome, Sandstorm told him. But if Leopardfur finds out you've been feeding other clans, she won't be pleased. Leopardfur can go chase her own tail, Graystripe growled. If she says anything, I'll remind her how Fireheart and I helped feed RiverClan during the floods last New Leaf. He turned away and bounded back to the river. Fireheart's heart ached as he watched his friend lunge himself into the water and began swimming strongly for the opposite bank. He would have given anything to have Graystripe back in ThunderClan, but he had to admit he seemed unlikely that the Grey Warrior could ever be accepted there again. The ash from the wildfires reached you. Yeah, it's smoky here. Not as bad as it is on the East Coast, but smoky. Fireheart struggled to carry the slippery fish as the hunting patrol returned to camp, his mouth watering as the unfamiliar scent filled his nostrils. When he entered the camp, he saw that the pile of freshkill already looked bigger. Cloudpaw and Brightpaw had returned, and were about to go out again with Mousefur and Thornpaw. We fed the elders, Fireheart, Cloudpaw called over his shoulder as he scrambled up the ravine. And Cinderpelt? Fireheart called back. Not yet! It's Quebec, Montreal, Quebec, Ontario, no, Ottawa? Yeah, the ash is like, that side of the New York and that area is nasty right now. Nasty! Fireheart watched his young kin dash out of sight and then turned back towards the pile of freshkill. Perhaps Graystripe's fish would tempt Cinderpelt, he thought. He suspected that the young medicine cat wasn't eating enough out of grief for Yellowfang and because she was so busy caring for the smoke-sick cats and Bluestar. Are you hungry, Fireheart? Asked Sandstorm, dropping the last of her catch onto the pile. In the end, she had waited to eat until they brought the pay back to camp, and she was eyeing the freshkill avidly. We could eat together if you like. Okay. The magpie Fireheart had eaten that morning seemed like a long time ago now. I'll just take this to Cinderpelt. Don't be long, meowed Sandstorm. Fireheart gripped the fish in his jaw and walked towards Cinderpelt's den. Before the fire, a lush tunnel of ferns had separated it from the rest of the camp. Now just a few blackened stalks showed above the ground, and Fireheart could clearly see the cleft in the rock that was the entrance to the den. He stopped outside, dropped the fresh kill, and called, Cinderpelt! After a moment, the young medicine cat poked her head out of the opening. What? Oh, it's you, Fireheart. She padded out of the den and then to join him. Her fur was ruffled, and her eyes didn't have their usual lively sparkle. Instead, she seemed distracted and troubled. Fireheart guessed that her mind was on Yellowfang. I'm glad you're here, she mewed. There's something I want to tell you. Have something to eat first, Fireheart urged her. Look, Graystripe caught a fish for us. Thanks, Fireheart, Cinderpelt meowed. But this is urgent. StarClan sent me a dream last night. Something about the way she spoke made Fireheart uneasy. He was still not used to the way that his former apprentice was growing into a true medicine cat, living without a mate or kits of her own, meeting secretly with other medicine cats and united with them through the bond of their warrior spirits of StarClan. What was the dream about? He asked. He had experienced dreams like this more than once, warning him of things that were going to happen, that helped him to imagine, better than most clan cats, the mixture of awe and bewilderment that Cinderpelt must be feeling now. I'm not sure, Cinderpelt blinked in confusion, but I thought I was standing in the forest, and I could hear something large crashing through the trees, but I couldn't see what it was, and I heard voices, harsh voices, in a language that wasn't cat. But I couldn't understand what they said. Her voice trailed off. She stood gazing into the distance. Her eyes clouded, while her front paws kneaded the ground in front of her. What did they say? Fireheart prompted. Cinderpelt shivered. It was really strange. They were calling pack, pack, and kill, kill. Fireheart couldn't help feeling disappointed. He had hoped that the message from StarClan might have given them some hint about how to deal with all his problems. Tigerstar's reappearance, Bluestar's illness, and the aftermath of the fire. Do you know what it means? he asked. Cinderpelt shook her head, a lingering look of horror in her eyes, as though she faced a huge threat Fireheart could not see. Not yet. Maybe StarClan will show me more when I've been to Highstones. But it's something bad, Fireheart, I'm sure of it. As if we haven't enough to worry about, Fireheart murmured. Cinderpelt, he mewed. I don't know what I can do unless we find out more. I need facts. Are you sure that's all you dreamed about? Her blue eyes still wide with distress, Cinderpelt nodded. Fireheart gave her ear a comforting lick. Don't worry, Cinderpelt. If it's a warning about ShadowClan, we're already watching out for them. Warning about ShadowClan, we're already watching out for them. Just tell me the moment you get any more details. He jumped as an irritated yowling sounded from beside him. Fireheart, are you gonna be all day? Glancing around, he saw that Sandstorm was waiting for him at the entrance of the burned fern tunnel. I've gotta go, he said to Cinderpelt. But I'll think about it later, okay? Fireheart interrupted her, his rumbling belly urging him to go and join Sandstorm. Let me know if you have any other dreams. Cinderpelt's ears twitched in annoyance. This is a message from StarClan, Fireheart, not just a root digging into my fur or a tough bit of fresh kill caught in my throat. It could affect the whole clan. We need to work out what it means. Well, you'll be better at that than I am, Fireheart told her, backing away from Cinderpelt's den and tossing the last words over his shoulder. Bounding across the clearing towards Sandstorm, he wondered briefly what the dream could have meant. It didn't sound like an attack from another clan, and he couldn't think of anything else that might be a threat. As he tucked into the wool that Sandstorm had saved for him, he managed to put Cinderpelt's dream out of his mind. His brain is only on his girlfriend. His almost girlfriend. Also, congrats to Ash on the win! I'm enjoying the smell, but I know that some people... I'm a fan of the smell. I love the smell, but I know it's so unhealthy, so it sucks. It's like I want to inhale it, but I know I'm not allowed. Okay, I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna eat some multivitamin gummies. Oh. Yeah, Fireheart, get your mind out of the McLoving. I don't know why anyone would not want to have, like, gummy vitamins. You know what I mean? A weird choice of snack. Like, why wouldn't... If you had the option to pick gummy, why wouldn't you eat the gummies? Bottle caps? Like the candy? I have gummy multivitamins. I have gummy vitamin B vitamins. I have chewable magnesiums. Not the candy. You mean real bottle caps? Wow. What about bottle cap peppers? Bottle cap peppers. No Flintstone gummies. I haven't had Flintstone chewables since I was a kid. They haven't sold them here, I don't think, in a very long time. Daily gummies and iron supplements, but I'd be forgetting them too much. Me too. Real bottle caps. Oh, be careful, they're sharp. I'm eating my magnesium. Pretty sure I have vitamins somewhere, probably. Yeah. Vitamins. I have bought so many vitamins. Like, I have so many vitamins, and all of them are, like, tasty and yummy, and I like to eat them. And I eat them, like, maybe for, like, 2 weeks, and then I kind of stopped eating them. Like, they aren't as exciting anymore. I kind of forget about them. So I have to have them on my desk at all times, right in front of my face. So if I'm like kind of like gazing around at something to eat, I'll be like, oh yeah, I haven't taken my gummy vitamins today. And then I eat them. Like right now. It's literally what happened right now. Chapter 4. Fireheart's flanks heaved as he fought for breath, and his cheeks stung where claws had raked across it. As he staggered to his feet, Brightpot took a couple steps back. I haven't hurt you, have I? The ginger and white apprentice asked anxiously. No, I'm fine, Fireheart gasped. Did Whitestorm show you that move? I never saw it coming. Well done. Try not to limp. He patted across the training hall to where Swiftpaw was. Bro just got owned by an apprentice. Thornpaw and Cloudpaw were watching. He had assembled the apprentices. He had been assessing the apprentices' fighting skills, and they had all held their own against him. They had the makings of formidable warriors. Okay. I do have chips too. I have some sun chips. Brighten your day with this zesty combination of tomato and a hint of jalapeno flavors, layered into a delicious multi-grain chip. Delicious. I'm glad you're all on my side. I wouldn't want to meet you in a battle, Fireheart meowed. I've had a word with your mentors, and they think you're ready, so I'm gonna ask Bluestar if you can be made warriors. Brightpaw, Thornpaw, and Swiftpaw exchanged exciting glances. Cloudpaw tried to look nonchalant, but there was a gleam of anticipation in his eyes, too. Okay, Fireheart went on. Hunt on your way back to camp and see that the elders and queens are fed. Then you can eat. If there's anything left, mewed Swiftpaw. Fireheart flicked a glance at him. Swiftpaw sometimes picked up discontented rumblings from his mentor Longtail, who had once been a close ally to Tigerclaw. But on this occasion, he seemed to be trying to make a joke. All four young cats sprang and dashed out of the training hollow. Fireheart heard Brightpaw yowling at Cloudpaw, Bet I can catch more prey than you! It seemed a long time since he had been that carefree. Fireheart reflected as he followed more slowly. Under the weight of his responsibilities as deputy, he sometimes felt older than the elders. The clan was surviving, managing to find food and to rebuild the devastating camp, but all the warriors were overstretched. Fireheart was on his paws from dawn to sunset, and every night he went to his den with tasks still undone. How long can we go on? He asked himself. It'll get harder, not easier, when Leaf Bear comes. Already the few leaves that the fire had left on the trees were turning red and gold. Oh, dang. And Fireheart paused at the top of the hollow. He felt a chilly breeze ruffle his fur, though the sun shone brightly. Man, if I was in the warrior camp, and I was a warrior, I would want to stay a warrior. Like, I wouldn't want to be, like, a deputy or a medicine cat. I just want to be a normal warrior and live my normal warrior life and not have to deal with the responsibilities of a leader or a deputy or a medicine cat. I want to go on my patrols. I want to hunt my mice. I want to eat my mice. I want to go to sleep. That's what I want my life to be like. One of our dog food reps bought a jalapeno pepperoni pizza for me and my coworker, and I've been munching on it for a while. Ooh, nice! slipped quietly back into camp and stood for a moment near the entrance, looking around. Darkstripe, who was in charge of the rebuilding, had started to patch up remaining gaps in the branches of the warrior's den. Dustpelt was working with him, and the two young apprentices, Fernpaw and Ashpaw. On the other side of camp, Fireheart saw Cinderpelt making her way to the elder's den, carrying some herbs in her jaw. In the center of the clearing, Goldenflower's two kits were playing with Speckletail's kits, while the queen sat watching them near the entrance to the nursery. Willowpelt was there too, carefully guarding her litter, who are much younger, from the rough play of the older kits. Fireheart's gaze rested on Bramblekit, the bigger of Goldenflower's kits. That strong, muscular body and dark brown pelt were disturbingly familiar. No cat who looked at the kit could doubt that Tigerclaw was his father. The thought always made Fireheart uneasy, and he struggled to push it aside. Logically, he knew that he should feel just as suspicious of the kit's sister, Twinykit. Twinykit? But though she shared the same father, she didn't share the misfortune of looking exactly like him. Fireheart knew it was unfair to blame Brambleclip for his father's crimes. Yet Fireheart could not banish the memory of the young kit clinging to a branch in a blazing tree, wailing in terror as Fireheart tried to reach him. And he could not forget that while he was rescuing Bramblekit, the fire had trapped Yellowfang in her den. Had he sacrificed Yellowfang to save Tigerclaw's son? Hi, Nono! Suddenly, a shrill squeal came from the group of kits. Bramblekit had bowled over Snowkit and was holding him down on the ground with his claws. The squealing came from the sturdy white kit, who didn't seem to be trying to defend himself. Fireheart shot forward, barreling into Bramblekit and knocking him away from his victim. Enough! He snarled. What do you think you're doing? The dark tabby kit picked himself up, amber eyes glaring with shock and indignation. Well? Fireheart demanded. Bramblekit shook the dust off his fur. It's nothing, Fireheart. We're only playing. Only playing? Then why was Speckletail's kid crying out like that? The glow died from Bramblekit's amber eyes, and he shrugged. How should I know? He can't play properly anyways. Bramblekit! It was Goldenflower who spoke, coming to stand beside her kit. How many times do I have to tell you? If somebody squeals, you let go. Don't be so rude to Fireheart. Remember, he's the deputy. Bramblekit's eyes flicked to Fireheart and away again. I'm sorry, he mumbled. Well, make sure that doesn't happen again, Fireheart snapped. Bramblekit padded past to where Snowkit was still crouched on the ground. Speckletail was giving his white fur a brisk lick. Come on, get up, she meowed. You're not hurt. Yeah, come on, Snowkit, Bramblekit mewed, swiping his tongue over the kit's ear. I didn't mean it. Come and play. You can be clan leader this time. Bramblekit's sister, Twinykit, was sitting a couple tail lengths away, her tail curled around her paws. He's no fun, she mewed. He never has any good games. Twinykit! Goldenflower cuffed her lightly across one ear. Don't be so nasty. I don't know what's gotten into the pair of you today. Snowkit was still crouched on the ground and got up only when his mother nudged him to his feet. Maybe you should let Cinderpelt check him, Fireheart advised the pale tabby queen. Make sure he's not hurt. Speckletail strung her head around and glared at her deputy. There is nothing wrong with my kit, she growled. Are you saying that I can't look after him properly? Turning her head back on Fireheart, she hurled Snowkit back to the nursery. She's protective of her kits, Goldenflower explained. I think it comes of only having one. She blinked fondly at her two kits, now scuffling together on the ground. Fireheart went to sit beside her, feeling uncomfortable about the harsh way he had spoken to Bramblekit. Have you told them that their father is the leader of ShadowClan now? He asked quietly. Goldenflower gave him a quick glance. No, not yet, she admitted. They will only boast about it, and then some cat will tell them the rest of the story. Sooner or later they'll find out, meowed Fireheart. The Ginger Queen vigorously washed her cheek for a few moments. I've seen the way you look at them, she mewed at last, especially Bramblekit. It's not his fault he looks the way he does. But other cats look at him like that too. Thoughtfully, she licked a paw and drew it over her ear. I want my kids to grow up happy, not feeling guilty because of something that had happened before they were born. Maybe there's hope of that now. If Tiger Star becomes a great leader, maybe they'll be proud of him in the end. Farhad twitched his ears uncomfortably, unable to share her optimism. They both respect you, you know, Goldenflower went on, especially since you saved Bramblekit from the fire. For a moment, Fireheart didn't know what to say. He felt guiltier than ever about his hostile feelings towards Bramblekit. Yet, however hard he tried, he could not help seeing the murderous father in the young Kit. I think you should tell them about Tiger Star, Goldenflower meowed, turning an intense gaze onto him. You're the deputy, after all. They would take it well from you, and I know you would tell them the truth. You think I should tell them now? Fireheart stammered. The way Goldenflower spoke made it sound like a challenge. No, not now, replied Goldenflower calmly. Not until you're ready, and when you think they're ready, she added. But don't leave it for too long. Fire dipped his head. I will, Goldenflower, he promised. And I'll make it as easy for them as I can. Before Goldenflower could reply, Bramblekit came skidding up to his mother with Tawny, just behind him. Can we go see the elders? He asked, eyes shining. Why promised to tell us some great stories? Tawny. Goldenflower let out an indulgent purr. Yes, of course, she meowed. Take her something from the file of fresh kill. That's good manners. And mind that you're back here by sunset. We will, meowed Tawny Kit. She dashed off across the camp, calling over his shoulder. I'm gonna fetch a mouse for one eye. No, you're not. I am. Bramblekit yowled, scampering after her. Well, Goldenflower meowed, turning back to Fireheart. If you can see anything wrong with those kits, tell me what it is, because I can't. She got up, obviously not needing an answer, and shook each paw in turn before retreating into the nursery. Fireheart watched her go. Somehow, he had managed to make himself unpopular with both Speckletail and Goldenflower. Even though Goldenflower trusted him, she clearly found it hard to forgive him for his conflicting feelings about Bramblekit, and he was no nearer to sorting them out. Sighing, he got to his paws, realizing it was time he set out the evening patrol. As he turned away from the nursery, he caught sight of Brakenfur, who was hovering nearby as if he wanted to speak to them. Is there a problem? He asked the young warrior. I don't know, Brakenfur replied. Just I saw what happened there with Speckletail's kit, and... You're not going to tell me I was too hard on Bramblekit, are you? No, Fireheart, of course not. But, well, I think there might be something wrong with Snowkit. Fireheart knew that the golden-brown Tom wouldn't make a fuss about nothing. Go on, he urged. I've been keeping an eye on him, Brakenfur explained. He scuffed the ground with his forepaws, and an embarrassed look on his face. I sort of hoped Blue Star might choose me to mentor him, and I wanted to get to know him. But I think there's something the matter with him. He doesn't like to play like the others. He doesn't seem to respond when any cat talks to him. You know Kit's Fireheart. Noses into everything. But Snowkit's not like that. I think Cinderpelt ought to have a look at him. I suggested that to Speckletail and practically got my ears clawed. Brakenfur shrugged. Maybe Speckletail won't admit that there could be anything wrong with their kit. Fireheart thought for a moment. Snowkit did seem slow and unresponsive compared to the other kits. He was much older than Goldenflower's litter, but nothing like as well developed. Leave it to me, he meowed. I'll have a word with Cinderpelt. She'll find a way of taking a look at the kit without upsetting Speckletail. Thanks, Fireheart. Brakenfur sounded relieved. Meanwhile, Fireheart mewed, can you lead the evening patrol? Ask Mousefur and Brindleface to go with you. Brakenfur straightened up. Sure, Fireheart, he replied. I'll go and look for them now. He set off across the camp with his tail held high. When he had gone a few fox lengths, Fireheart called him back. Oh, and Brakenfur, he mewed, pleased for once to impart good news. When Snowkit's ready, I'll speak to Blue Star about letting you mentor him. Cute. Chip break. Is that his dad or something? Breaking fur? No. Oh my god, I bet he is deaf! You're so right, Peachy! Oh my god, I didn't even think about that. I completely forgot what Snow Kit's going on. Is that his dad or something? You mean, Breaking fur? No. Breaking fur is... He's a young warrior. He was, Fireheart and Gray Stripe's, apprentice. I say both of them because, Gray Stripe was having his love affair at the same time. He's also Cinderpelt's, brother. Before Fireheart went to find Cinderpelt, he visited Bluestar to tell her about the apprentice's assessment. The clan leader was seated outside her den in a patch of sunshine, and Fireheart thought, hopefully, that she might be feeling more like her old self. But her blue eyes looked tired as she blinked at him, and a piece of fresh kill lay beside her, only half eaten. "Well, Fireheart," she asked as he approached, "what can I do for you?" "I've got good news, Bluestar." Fireheart tried to sound cheerful. "I assessed all 4 of the older apprentices today. They did well. I think it's time they were made into warriors." "The older apprentices?" Bluestar's eyes clouded with confusion. "That would be Breakin' and Cinderpaw." Fireheart's heart sank. Bluestar couldn't even remember which cats were apprentices. "No, Bluestar," he meowed patiently. "Cloudpaw, Brightpaw, Swiftpaw, and Thornpaw." Bluestar shifted a little. "That's who I meant," she snapped. "And you want them to be warriors? Just remind me who are their mentors, will you?" "I'm Cloudpaw's mentor," Fireheart began, trying to keep his increasing dismay out of his voice. "The others are Longtail." "Longtail," Bluestar interrupted. "Ah, yes, one of Tigerclaw's friends. Why did we give him an apprentice when we can't trust him?" "Longtail chose to stay in ThunderClan when Tigerclaw left," Fireheart reminded her. Bluestar snorted. "That doesn't mean we can trust him," she repeated. "We can't trust any of them. They're traitors, and they'll train more traitors. I won't make warriors of any of their apprentices." She paused as Fireheart stared at her, appalled, then added, "Only yours, Fireheart. You alone are faithful to me. Cloudpaw can be a warrior, but not the others." Pro. Fireheart didn't know what to say. Even though the clan seemed happy to have Cloudpaw back after his escapade with the 2 legs, Fireheart could foresee trouble if his apprentice was made a warrior and the other apprentices were not. Besides, it wouldn't do Cloudpaw any good to be signaled out for an honor that the others deserved just as much as he did. Fireheart fought with the rising panic as he realized that meant none of the apprentices could be made into warriors yet. Even though the clan needed them so desperately, he knew there was no reasoning with Bluestar in this mood. Thanks, Bluestar," he meowed at last, starting to back away. "But maybe we'll wait a while longer. A bit more training won't hurt." He made his escape, leaving Bluestar looking after him with the same vague expression in her eyes. She's going insane, a little bonkers, a little mentally incapable. I think she's like... It's a mix of her being old, the trauma, and being on her last life. Because she doesn't even have that, like... What would the word be? Support? That comfort? The comfort of knowing that if she throws herself in battle for her clan, she'll still live, right? She doesn't have that anymore. So she can't... She knows that she will die the next time she fights, and because she's, like, weak, right? Like, She still isn't eating. She isn't taking care of himself. She's got like cat depression. One of the big signs of that is when they don't clean themselves. And since Blue Star is very not cleaning herself, Chapter 5. The sun was going down, casting long shadows across the clearing. By the time Fireheart went to look for Cinderpelt, he found the medicine cat in her den, checking her supplies of healing herbs, and sat just outside the entrance to talk to her. "Speckletail's kit," she meowed. When Fireheart told her about Breakenfur's suspicion, she narrowed her eyes thoughtfully. "Yes, I can see what he means. I'll take a look." "You'll have to be careful of Speckletail," Fireheart warned her. "When I suggested she might let you check on Snowkit, she practically bit my nose off." "I'm not surprised," remarked Cinderpelt. "No queen wants to believe her kits aren't perfect." "I'll deal with it, Fireheart, don't worry. But not right away," she added, patting her store of juniper berries into a neater pile. "It's too late to disturb them tonight, and tomorrow I have to go to Highstones." "So soon?" Fireheart was surprised. He hadn't realized how quickly the days were slipping by. "Tomorrow night is the new moon. All the other medicine cats will be there too. StarClan will give me my full powers." Cinderpelt hesitated and then added, "Yellowfang should have come with me to present me to StarClan as a fully trained medicine cat. Now I'll have to go to the ceremony without her." Her eyes grew wide and remote as she spoke. Fireheart felt that she was moving far away from him, into a land of shadows and dreams where he could not follow her. "You'll need a warrior with you," he meowed. "Last time Blue Star tried to go to Highstones, WindClan wouldn't let her pass through their territory." Cinderpelt looked at him calmly. "I'd like to see the patrol that would dare stop a medicine cat. StarClan would never forget that." Expression changed and her eyes glinted mischievously. "You can come as far as 4 Trees if you like, assuming you can spare the time from Sandstorm." "Oh." Fireheart felt uncomfortable. "I don't know what you mean," he muttered. But he remembered leaving to go and eat with Sandstorm while Cinderpelt was telling him about her dream, and I guess that the medicine cat had felt unfairly dismissed. "Sandstorm can lead the dawn patrol without me," he mewed out loud. "I'll come with you to 4 Trees." The next day dawned damp and misty. Tendrils of fog curled between the trees as Fireheart and Cinderpelt made their way to 4 Trees. The clinging white clouds dampened the sound of their paw steps and beaded their fur with tiny droplets. In the silence, Fireheart jumped at the sudden alarm call of a bird above his head. He felt half afraid that they might lose their way in this eerily unfamiliar-looking forest. But by the time they crossed the stream and began to climb the slope of 4 Trees, the mist had begun to clear, and at the top of the hollow they emerged into bright sunlight. The 4 massive oaks stood straight ahead of them, their leaves turning red gold with the approach of leafall. Cinderpelt let out a noisy breath as she shook the moisture from her fur. "That feels good! I was starting to think I'd have to scent my way to Highstones, and I've only ever been there once before, with Yellowfang." Fireheart, too, enjoyed the feeling of the warm sun in his fur. He stretched luxuriously and opened his jaw to taste the air, hoping to pick up the scent of prey. Instead, the scent of other cats flooded over him. "ShadowClan!" he thought, his muscle tensing as his gaze flickered from side to side. A moment later he relaxed as he spotted Running Nose, the ShadowClan medicine cat, padding up to the hollow from ShadowClan territory, with another cat beside him. This was no hostile warrior. ShadowClan raised medicine cats above the level of clan rivalry. StarClan had raised medicine cats above the level of clan rivalry. Looks as though you won't have to travel alone after all," he mewed to Cinderpelt. They waited until the ShadowClan cats came up to them. As they drew nearer, Fireheart recognized the other cat. It was Little Cloud, a small tabby tom who had almost died in his clan's recent sickness. He and another warrior, Whitethroat, had tried to seek refuge with ThunderClan, Bluestar had refused to take them in, but Cinderpelt had secretly sheltered them and cared for them until they were fit enough to travel back into their own territory. Whitethroat had died soon after, when Tigerstar and his rogues had attacked the ThunderClan patrol. A monster had cut the Yellow Cat down on the Thunderpath, and he was fleeing from the fight. Reliving the shock of that moment, Fireheart was glad to see that Little Cloud at least looked strong and healthy again. "Hello there." I feel like he'd be a nerd. "Hello there." "Hello there," Runny Nose greeted. The ThunderClan cat cheerfully. "Well met, Cinderpelt. It's a good day to travel." Little Cloud nodded respectfully to Fireheart and went to touch noses with Cinderpelt. "It's good to see you on your paws again," she meowed. "All thanks to you." Little Cloud replied. With a touch of pride, he added, "I'm Runny Nose's apprentice now." "Aw, Little Cloud is his apprentice." He must have been so inspired by Cinderpelt. That's so cute. "Congratulations," Cinderpelt purred. "Oh, he did say it." "That's all because of you," Little Cloud went on enthusiastically. "When we were ill, you knew just what to do. And then you gave us healing herbs to take back to the clan, and they worked. I want to do more stuff like that." "He has a real talent," Runny Nose mewed. And it took courage to come back to us with herbs. I'm only sorry Whitethroat didn't come back with him." "He didn't?" Fireheart asked, seizing the chance to find out how much the Shadow Clan cats knew about the young warrior's fate. Sadly, Little Cloud shook his head. "He wouldn't come back with me to camp. He was scared of catching the sickness again, even though we had the healing herbs with us. He blinked as if the memory caused him pain. We found his body beside the Thunderpath a few days later." "I'm sorry," Fireheart meowed. He wondered whether to tell him the truth of how Whitethroat had died, but decided it would be too harmful to reveal that Little Cloud's new leader had been partly responsible for his friend's death. It was clear that Whitethroat must have joined the rogues for a short time and paid it with his life. Cinderpelt pressed her muzzle comfortably against Little Cloud's flank. Settling down on the warm grass, she beckoned with her tail for the apprentice to sit beside her and began to ask him about his training. "Are things better now?" Fireheart carefully asked Runny Nose. He would have liked to warn the medicine cat about Tigerstar, but there was so little he could say without revealing what had happened in ThunderClan. "It seems so," meowed Runny Nose, sounding equally guarded. "The apprentices are getting proper training for the first time in moons, and our bellies are always full." "That's good news," Fireheart mewed, forcing himself to add, "What about the rogues?" Runny Nose frowned. "Not every hat was happy about their coming into our clan," he admitted. "I wasn't happy about them myself. But they haven't caused any trouble, and they're strong warriors. No cat can deny that." "Then maybe Tigerstar will be a great leader, just like the omen said," Fireheart mewed. The medicine cat met his gaze evenly. "It seems strange that ThunderClan got rid of a strong cat like that." Fireheart took a deep breath. Perhaps he should take this chance to tell Runny Nose the truth about Tigerstar. It's a long story, he began. "No, Fireheart," Runny Nose interrupted. "I'm not asking you to betray your clan's secrets." He edged closer to Fireheart, then scraped the ground with his paws and crouched down beside him. "Whatever happened in ThunderClan, I'm certain of one thing." He mewed softly. "StarClan did send Tigerstar to us." "You mean the omen?" "Actually, there's something else." Runny Nose glanced sideways at Fireheart. "Our last leader was never accepted by StarClan," he admitted. "When Nightstar became leader, StarClan did not grant him 9 lives. What? What? Fireheart stared at the medicine cat in disbelief. If Nightstar had only 1 life, it explained why the sickness had claimed him so quickly. Fireheart found his voice again. Why didn't he get 9 lives? StarClan have not explained that to me, meowed Runny Nose. I wondered if it was because Broken Tail was still alive, and StarClan still recognized him as clan leader. But by the time we learned that Broken Tail had died, Nightstar was too weak to make the journey to Moonstone to receive his 9 lives. And since Tiger Star came, I think maybe he was StarClan's choice of leader for us all along. Nightstar was not the right cat. Yet the clan still accepted him as leader. The clan never knew that he had not been given his 9 lives, Runny Nose confessed. Nightstar was a noble cat and loyal to his clan. We decided to keep StarClan's rejection a secret. What else could we do? There was no other cat fit to be leader. If we told the truth, the clan would have panicked. Bruh, imagine being the deputy and then being turned into a leader, or being promoted into a leader, but then StarClan's like, no. There was a kind of relief in Runny Nose's voice as he told the story. If I had guessed how relieved the medicine cat must have felt to be able to share the secret at last. The clan cats thought the sickness was so bad it took all of Nightstar's lives at once, Runny Nose continued. They were scared, very scared. They had never been in greater need of a strong leader. So they accepted Tiger Star without question, Fire had added what the medicine cat had not said. But there was no need for Runny Nose to voice his doubts about his new leader. Has Tiger Star said anything about attacking ThunderClan? Fire had asked hesitantly. Runny Nose let out a purr of amusement. You really expect me to answer that? If he was plotting anything, I'd be betraying my clan if I told you. As far as I know, you haven't anything to worry about. But whether you believe me or not is up to you. Fire had discovered that he believed him. At least, he believed that Runny Nose knew nothing about any plans that Tiger Star might be making. Whether the medicine cat was right was another question altogether. Fireheart! The voice was Cinderpelt. She had risen to her paws and was gazing across the hollow to the swell of the moorland above. This was the Wind Clan territory that the medicine cats would have to cross to reach Highstones for the ceremony. Are you and Runny Nose gonna sit there gossiping all day like a couple of elders? Her paws worked impatiently in the grass. The little cloud was standing beside her, his head raised and his eyes shining eagerly. All right, Runny Nose meowed, getting up and going to join them. We've got all day, you know. Highstones isn't going anywhere. The 4 cats padded around the top of the hollow until they reached the edge of the windswept moor. Cinderbell paused and touched noses with the Fireheart. I'll be fine from here, she meowed. Thanks for coming this far. I'll be back tomorrow night. Take care, Fireheart replied. He had stood here once before and said goodbye to Cinderpelt when she first went to face the mysteries of the Moonstone. A shiver ran through his fur as he thought of her plunging down through the undergrowth tunnels into the glittering crystal for her silent communion with StarClan. He said nothing more, only gave the gray she-cat's ears a swift lick in farewell, and stood watching as she limped across the moorland turf with the 2 ShadowClan cats. Ooh. That must have sucked so hard for Nightstar. He was just lying his butt off constantly. Stretch and hydrate! Okay, after this other chip. And stretch! That was a good stretch. We're already 40 pages in. I feel like these chips are powering me. They're giving me energy. More. This was uploaded July 2nd, 2009 at 1:06 a.m. This book. Thank you for the hydrate and stretch! Okay. forest was dark. No moon shone down that night, and when Fireheart looked up, he could see nothing but faint patterns of branches against the sky. The trees looked taller than he remembered, hemming him in. Brambles and ivy tangled around his paws. "Spotted Leaf," he mewed. "Spotted Leaf, where are you?" There was no answer to his cries, only the rush of water from somewhere ahead of him. He was afraid of stepping forward and finding nothing but black emptiness under his paws as the raging torrent swept him down with it. In some part of his mind, Fireheart knew he was dreaming. He had lain down in the warrior's den in the hope that he would be able to meet Spotted Leaf in sleep. When Fireheart had first come to ThunderClan, Spotted Leaf had been the medicine cat, but she had been killed by one of Broken Tail's vicious followers. Now she visited Fireheart in his dreams, so that once again he could find her gentle wisdom to answers that troubled him. But now, though he searched more and more desperately in the black forest, he could not find her. "Spotted Leaf!" he cried again. This was not the first time in his recent dreams that she had been invisible to him. The last time, he had only heard her voice, and he fought with the terrible fear that she was drawing away from him. "Spotted Leaf, don't leave me!" he begged. A heavy weight landed on him from behind. Fireheart withered in the forest floor, trying to free himself. Then the scent of another cat was in his nostrils, and he opened his eyes to find himself scuffing in his mossy bedding with Dustpelt cuffing him over the shoulder. "What's the matter with you?" Dustpelt growled. "No cat gonna get a wink of sleep with you yowling like that." "Leave him alone." Sandstorm put her head up from her nest, blinking sleep from her eyes. "It's only a dream. It's not that fault." "You would say that," Dustpelt sneered. He turned his back on them and made his way out through the overhanging branches. Fireheart sat up and began grooming scraps of moss out of his coat. Through the charred branches overhead, he could see the sun was already up. "Thank you for the follow, Leonide." Where was I? White Star must have left already with the dawn patrol. There were no other warriors sleeping in the den. The darkness of his dream was fading, but he could not forget it. Why had the forest seemed so black and terrifying? Why had Spotted Leaf not come to him, not even as a scent or the sound of her voice? "Are you all right?" asked Sandstorm, anxiety showing in her green eyes. Fireheart shook himself. "I'm fine," he meowed. "Let's go and hunt." The day was bright, though the chill of leaf fall was in the air. Fireheart was relieved to see that grass and ferns were growing back thickly as the forest recovered. If only the fine weather would last. Then the growth could continue and prey would return. He led the way up the ravine and through the forest towards tall pines. Since the fire, most cats had avoided the stretch of territory close to the tree-cut place, where the devastation was worst. The fire had started there, and the whole stretches of the forest had been reduced to nothing but gray ash, dotted with tree stumps. Fireheart wondered if there was a chance of prey there yet, but as he and Sandstorm approached the edge of the tall pines, he guessed that he was going to be disappointed. The pines, charred to tapering trunks, were still a jumble, with fallen trees caught up against others that still stood. The few remaining branches stirred uneasily in the breeze. The ground was black, but no birds sang. "It's useless here," Sandstorm meowed. "Let's go and—" She broke off as another cat appeared through the trees, a small tabby and white shape stepping nervously over the debris of the fire. With a gasp of surprise, Fireheart recognized his sister, Princess. She spotted him at the same moment and bounded towards him, calling, "Fireheart! Fireheart!" "Who's that?" Sandstorm spat. "You scare off all the prey between here and 4 trees." Before Fireheart could reply, her sister came up to him. She was purring as if she would never stop, pressing her face against his and covering him with licks. "Fireheart, you're alive!" she mewed. "I was so frightened when I saw the fire. I thought you and Cloudpaw were dead." "Yes, well, I'm okay," Fireheart meowed awkwardly, giving Princess a quick lick in return and taking a step back, acutely conscious of Sandstorm's eyes on him. "And Cloudpaw's fine, too." Glancing at Sandstorm, he saw that a look of disgust had appeared in the ginger warrior's face, and her fur was fluffed out. "That's a kitty pet," she snarled. "She's got kitty pet scent all over her." Princess gave her a scared look and edged closer to Fireheart. Is this one of your friends, Fireheart?" she stammered. "Yes, this is Sandstorm. Sandstorm, this is my sister, Princess. Cloudpaw's mother." Sandstorm took a step or two away from them, though she let the fur lie flat on her neck again. "Cloudpaw's mother?" she repeated. "She still sees you both, then." She shot a glance at Fireheart, clearly wondering how much he had told Princess about Cloudpaw's escapade with the two legs. "Cloudpaw's doing really well," Fireheart meowed. "Isn't he?" He met Sandstorm's gaze, silently willing her not to say anything tactless about the wayward apprentice. "He hunts well," Sandstorm admitted, "and he's got the makings of a fine fighter." Princess didn't realize how much Sandstorm was leaving unsaid. Her eyes glowed with pride, and she meowed, "I know he'll be a good warrior with Fireheart to mentor him." "But you haven't told me what you're doing here," Fireheart mewed, eager to change the subject. "You're a long way away from your two-leg nest." "I was looking for you. I had to know what happened to you and Cloudpaw," explained Princess. "I saw the fire from my garden, and then you didn't come see me, and I thought—" "I'm sorry," Fireheart meowed. "I would have come, but we've been so busy since the fire. We have to rebuild the camp, and there's not much prey left in the forest, and I have more duties since I was made deputy." "You're deputy now? Of the whole clan? Fireheart, that's marvelous!" Fireheart felt hot with embarrassment as Princess gazed at him. Sandstorm gave a dry little cough. "There's prey to be caught, Fireheart." "Yes, you're right," Fireheart meowed. "Princess, you're very brave to have come so far, but you'd better get home now. The forest can be dangerous if you're not used to it." "Yes, I know, but I—" The roar of a two-legged monster interrupted her, and at the same moment Fireheart's nostrils were blasted with its harsh shriek. The roaring grew louder, and a moment later the monster burst out of the trees, bouncing along the rattled track. Instinctively, Fireheart and Sandstorm crouched beneath the blackened tree trunk, waiting for the monster to pass. Princess merely sat, watching it curiously. "Get down!" Sandstorm hissed at her. Princess looked puzzled, but she pressed herself obediently to the ground next to Fireheart. Instead of passing, the monster stopped. The roaring was abruptly cut off. Part of the monster unfolded, and 3 two-legs jumped out of its belly. Fireheart exchanged a glance with Sandstorm and flattened himself even further. Princess might feel at home with the two-leg and their monsters, but they were too close for his liking, and the undergrowth was still not thick enough to provide decent cover. All Fireheart's instincts were to run, but curiosity kept them pinned to the ground. The two-legs wore matching dark blue pelts. They had no two-leg kits with them, or dogs, unlike most of the two-legs who came to the forest. They spread out among the burned trees, yowling and stamping so that their paws threw up puffs of dust and ash. Sandstorm lowered her head and stifled a sneeze as one of them passed within a fox length of where the 3 cats were crouched. "What are they doing?" Fireheart murmured. "Frightening off of the prey," hissed Sandstorm, spitting out dust. "Honestly, Fireheart, who cares what two-legs do? They're all mad." "I don't know." Fireheart couldn't help feeling that these two-legs had a purpose, even if he didn't understand what it was. The way they pointed with their paws and yowled at each other seemed to suggest they were moving deliberately through the forest. Another two-leg stomped past. He had picked up a branch and was using it to poke into hollows and under clumps of charred undergrowth. It almost looked as if he were hunting for prey, except for the noise he was making, which would have scared away the deafest rabbit. "Do you know what this is all about?" Fireheart asked Princess. "I'm not sure," his sister replied. "I understand a bit of their two-leg talk, but it's not words that my housefolk use. I think they're calling for someone, but I don't know who." As Fireheart watched, the two-legs threw the branch down. There was frustration in the movement. He yowled again, and the other two-legs appeared from the trees. All 3 of them went back to the monster and climbed into its belly. The roar started up again, and the monsters jerked into motion and vanished into the trees. "Well!" Sandstorm sat up and began licking fastidiously at her ash-stained fur. "Thanks Darklon, they've gone." Fireheart got to his paws, keeping his gaze fixed on the place in the trees where the monsters had disappeared. The sound had died away, and the acid smell was fading. "I don't like it," he meowed. "Oh, come on, Fireheart." Sandstorm patted to his side and gave him a nudge. Why are you bothering about two legs? They're weird, and that's all there is to it. No, I think they know what they're doing, even if it looks weird to us, Fireheart replied. They usually bring their kits or their dogs to the forest, but these two legs didn't. If Princess is right that they were looking for something, and they didn't find it, I'd like to know what it was. He paused and then added, besides, we don't normally see two legs in this part of the forest. They're too close to the camp for my liking. Sandstorm's impatient look softened, and she pressed her muzzle reassuringly against his shoulder. You can tell the patrols to keep a lookout, she reminded him. Yes, Fireheart nodded thoughtfully. I'll do that. As he said goodbye to Princess, he struggled to push his growing anxiety out of his mind. Something was going on in the forest he didn't understand, and he could not help fearing that it might mean dangers for his clan. Cutting across the corner of tall pines, Fireheart and Sandstorm made for the river and Sunning Rocks. There was no sign of prey anywhere among the scorched trees. The noise made by the two legs had seen to that. We'll follow the River Clan border up towards Four Trees, Fireheart decided. There might be something there worth catching. But as they came within sight of Sunning Rocks, Fireheart stopped at the sound of a very familiar voice calling his name. He looked up to see Greystripe poised on top of the nearest rock. The Grey Warrior scrambled down and bounded over to him. Fireheart! I was hoping to catch you. Good thing a patrol didn't catch you, Sandstorm growled. You're very comfortable in our territory for a River Clan warrior. Come off it, Sandstorm, Greystripe meowed, giving her a good-natured push. This is me, Greystripe, remember? Only too well, retorted Sandstorm. She sat down, licked a paw, and started washing her face. What's the problem, Greystripe? Fireheart asked. Is this 18 or older? The book? Or me? The book is definitely not 18 or older. And I must say so, I don't swear or do any sexual content. But, yeah, I'm not, yeah. I'm pretty all ages. The games that I play might not be all ages, but I am. Yeah. Yeah, cat curses in chat. Cat says stuff like butt face. You got banned? No, you didn't. Not here. I would have seen that. Poopy McFart. No, a different one. Oh. Because you were younger than 18? Ah. Don't worry, you're fine here. Yeah, some people have that. They don't want to get in trouble, you know? Especially if they're making content that isn't for people underage. But don't worry, it's fine here. Sorry, I'm eating chips now. Yum, 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 yum. What chips? I've been eating chips this whole time! Or don't feel comfortable having kids around. True. I have sun chips. These are sun chips. Garden salsa sun chips. Golden salsa is yummy. That makes me wonder what y'all's ages are, but that's not my place to really ask. I'm an old lady. Ooh. Okay, let's go. Continuing. Where was I? Oh, yeah. What's the problem, Greystripe? Fireheart asked, worried that his old friend wouldn't have ventured into ThunderClan territory without a good reason. It's not exactly a problem, replied the Grey Warrior. At least, I hope it isn't. I Just something I thought you ought to know. Spit it out then, meowed Sandstorm. Graystripe flicked his tail at her. Crooked Star had a visitor yesterday, he told Fireheart. He narrowed his amber eyes. It was... Oh wait, sorry. That was Graystripe. Crooked Star had a visitor yesterday, he told Fireheart. He narrowed his amber eyes. It was Tiger Star. What? What did he want? Graystripe shook his head. I don't know, but Graystripe is very weak now. The whole clan knows he's on his last life. Tiger Star spent only a short time with him, but he had a long talk with Leopard Fur. The mention of the River Clan deputy increased Fireheart's fears. What did she and Tiger Star have to say to each other? Visions of an alliance between Shadow Clan and River Clan raced through his mind, with Thunder Clan trapped between the two of them. He tried to tell himself his worrying was unnecessary. He had no reason to think the other two clans were planning anything. It's not unknown for leaders to visit each other, he pointed out. If Crooked Star is dying, Tiger Star might want to pay his last respects? Maybe, Graystripe snorted. But then why spend so much time with Leopard Fur? Tried to get close enough to hear. And I heard Tiger Star say something about coming again to our camp. Was that all he said? Fireheart asked. That's all I heard. Graystripe ducked his head in embarrassment. Leopard Fur saw me and told me to stay out of our fur. Perhaps Tiger Star's just getting to know her, Fireheart guessed. She'll be clan leader after all, when Crooked Star dies. He turned as he heard another cat calling his name, and saw Mistyfoot pulling himself up out of the river. Oh, great Star Clan! Exclaimed Sandstorm. Are we gonna have all River Clan over at once? Fireheart! Mistyfoot panted, shaking off her fur. Sandstorm jumped back crossly as some of the spinning drops splattered against her paws. Fireheart, have you seen Graypool anywhere? Graypool? Fireheart echoed, picturing the short-tempered elder whom Mistyfoot believed to be her mother. Fireheart still felt gratitude to the River Clan Queen for telling him the truth about the two Thunder Clan kits she had brought up as her own. But he hadn't seen her for a long time. What would Graypool be doing here? I don't know. Mistyfoot padded up the slope from the river, her face creased with anxiety. I can't find her in camp. She's so weak and confused these days. I'm afraid she's wandered off and doesn't know what she's doing. She won't be here, Graystripe objected. She's not strong enough to swim the river. Then where is she gone? Mistyfoot's voice rose into a wail. I've looked in all the places I can think of near camp, but she isn't there. Besides, the river's low just now. It's not hard to swim across. Fireheart thought rapidly. If Graypool had somehow crossed the river into ThunderClan territory, she would need to be tracked down as soon as possible. His clanmates were scared enough already of an invasion. He didn't like to imagine what would happen if an aggressive cat like Darkstripe found her first. Okay, he meowed. I'll follow the border up to Fort Trees to see if she's gone that way. Sandstorm, you go back to camp. Tell the others what's happening, to warn them not to attack Graypool if they see her. Sandstorm rolled her eyes. All right, she mewed as she got to her paws. I'll hunt on the way back, though. It's time someone caught some fresh kill for the clan. With her tail high, she stalked off into the trees. Mistyfoot dipped her head gratefully towards Fireheart. Thank you, she meowed. I won't forget this. And Fireheart, if you need to cross into River Clan territory to bring Graypool home, you can tell any cat who sees you that I gave you permission. Fireheart nodded his thanks. He would just imagine what would happen if he were caught on the wrong side of the border by a River Clan patrol with leopard fur on its head. At its head. Come on, Mistyfoot, Graystripe meowed encouragingly. I'll swim back with you. We'll check the camp again. Thanks, Graystripe. Mistyfoot pressed her nose briefly to the Grey Warrior's fur, and both River Clan cats bounded down the bank towards the river. Graystripe glanced back swiftly to yowl a goodbye, then launched himself into the water behind Mistyfoot. Fireheart watched them swing strongly for the far bank before headed upstream towards Fort Trees. He followed the border, renewing the scent markers as he went, until he was not far from Fort Trees. He found it hard to believe the fragile elder could have made it this far, but then, looking down a rocky slope towards the river, he caught sight of a skinny gray shape limping slowly over the two-leg bridge that crossed the river on the route that River Clan cats took to Fort Trees. Graypool! Fireheart opened his jaws to call out to her and closed them again without making a sound. The old cat had crossed the bridge and was tottering along the very edge of the river. He was afraid that if she heard a strange cat calling to her, she would slip and fall to her death. Instead, he began to make his way down the slope, creeping carefully under cover of the rocks in a hunting crouch so she could not see him and be startled. After a few moments, he saw to his relief that Great Pool had turned away from the river and was trying to climb up the steep slope towards 4 trees. Her claws scrambled freely on the boulders, but Fireheart wondered where she was... What? His claws scrambled feebly on the boulders, and Fireheart wondered where she thought she was going. Did she imagine it was full moon and she was on her way to the gathering? Fireheart straightened up and opened his mouth once more to call her, but again he bit back her name and slipped rapidly into the shelter of the nearest rock. Another cat had appeared, bounding confidently from the direction of 4 trees. There was no mistaking that huge, muscular body and dark brown tabby coat. It was Tiger Star. What the heck? It's like book club, but instead of some wise, beautiful work of fiction, cats fighting drama book. It is a wise fiction. That's what I'm thinking. What the heck is Tiger Star doing with Claypool? Chapter 7. Chip break. Sus, Grape will get out of there. Right, what the heck is she doing? What did Tiger Star do? Chapter 7. Fire peered out from behind his rock. Tiger Star had spotted Grapepool and had changed direction towards her. As the dark tabby approached, Grapepool reared back in surprise and fell, only to struggle back onto her paws and face Tiger Star. The Shadow Clan leader padded up to her and meowed something, but Fireheart was too far away to make out the words. What the... Flattening his belly to the ground, he crept towards them, using all his hunting skills to stay undetected. Fortunately, the wind was blowing towards him, so Tiger Star was unlike to scent him. Fire was unwilling to meet the Shadow Clan leader unless he had to. With any luck, Tiger Star was on his way to his leopard fur again and would help Greypool back to River Clan camp. Fire prowled closer, flattening himself against the turf until he reached the shelter of another rock almost on a level with the other 2 cats. Greystripe had said that Tiger Claw had visited River Clan the day before. Why should he need to return so soon? You don't... wait. You don't pretend you don't know me. Fireheart hardly recognized the quivering voice as Greypool's. I know who you are. Right enough, you're Oakheart. Fireheart stiffened. Oakheart was the name of the cat who fathered Mistyfoot and Stonefur, and took them to River Clan when Bluestar gave them up. He had been killed in a battle just before Fireheart joined ThunderClan, but he had looked a little like Tiger Star, a big Tom with a dark pelt. With infinite caution, Fireheart raised his head to peer over the rock where he was sheltering. Greypool was crouched on a sparse patch of grass just above the outcrop of stones. She was looking up at Tiger Star, who loomed over her a couple of tail lengths further up the slope. I haven't seen you for moons, Greypool went on. Where have you been hiding yourself? Tiger Star stared down at her with narrowed eyes. Fireheart waited for him to tell the elderly she-cat that she had made a mistake. His blood ran cold when Tiger Star just meowed. Oh, here and there. What in StarClan's name is he playing at? Fireheart wondered. You might at least come to see me, Greypool complained. Don't you want to know how those kids are doing? The massive Tom's ears pricked up, and his amber eyes glowed with interest. What kids? What kids, he says. Greypool burst into rusty laughter. As if you didn't know. The 2 ThunderClan kids you asked for me to take care of. Bro. Fireheart froze. Greypool had just given away Bluestar's most deeply buried secret. Tiger Star's muscles tensed, and he gazed at Greypool more intently still, his interest clear in every line of his body. He thrust his head forward and meowed something so softly that Fireheart could not catch it. "Seasons ago," replied Greypool, sounding puzzled. "Don't tell me you've forgotten." No. Oakheart wouldn't need to ask that." She staggered forward a couple of steps to peer more closely at Tiger Star. "You're not Oakheart," she exclaimed. "Never mind that," Tiger Star mewed soothingly. You can still tell me all about it. What ThunderClan kids? Who was their real mother?" Fireheart was close enough to see the dazed look in Greypool's eyes. She put her head on one side, gazed confusedly at the ShadowClan leader. "They were beautiful kids," she meowed vaguely, "and now they're fine warriors." She broke off as Tiger Star thrust his muzzle into her face. "Tell me whose kids they are, you old crow food," he demanded, losing his patience. Fireheart stared in horror as, flustered, Greypool took a step back. Her paws slid from under her. She rolled down the steep slope in a scramble of legs and tail and landed hard against one of the rocks that poked on the turf. She lay there and did not move again. Oh my god. Dismay and fury pulsed through Fireheart. As Tiger Star patted down to Greypool's motionless body and sniffed it, he sprang to his paws and raced across the slope. But before Fireheart reached him, the ShadowClan leader spun around. Without seeing his former enemy... Wait. But before... Oh, okay. It was Fireheart who jumped to his paws. Sorry, it was written badly. But before Fireheart reached him, the ShadowClan leader spun around, without seeing his former enemy, and bounded away in the direction of 4 trees into his own territory. Fireheart reached Greypool and gazed down at her. A trickle of blood came from her small gray head where it had struck the rock. Her eyes stared sightless at the sky. The she-cat was dead. Fireheart lowered his head. "Goodbye, Greypool," he mewed softly. "StarClan will honor you." He stood in silent grief, wishing he had known Greypool better. Her sharp tongue and noble heart reminded him of Yellowfang, and he would never stop feeling grateful to the RiverClan Queen for sharing her deepest secret with him, even though he came from another clan. His sad reverie was interrupted by the voices of 2 cats, and he looked up to see Mistyfoot and Greystripe racing towards him from the river. Mistyfoot let out a desperate wail as she saw the dead elder and flung herself down on the turf to press her nose against Greypool's side. "What happened?" Greystripe asked. In an instant, Fireheart decided to keep quiet about Tiger Star. Any mention of the ShadowClan leader would risk exposing the truth about Blue Star's kits, and Fireheart knew Greypool would never want that, not even within her own clan. He glanced at the still gray body and asked forgiveness from StarClan for the half-truth he was about to tell. "I saw Greypool climbing the slope," he replied. "She slipped, and I couldn't reach her in time. I'm sorry." "It's not your fault, Fireheart." Mistyfoot looked up at him, her blue eyes filled with sorrow. "I have been afraid for a while that something like this would happen." She bent her head to touch Greypool's body again. Fireheart felt sympathy well up inside his chest. Greypool had taken Mistyfoot and Stone for when Blue Star, their real mother, had given them up. Without Greypool, they would have died. She had suckled them and reared them until they were ready to become apprentices. She was the only mother they had ever known, and no cat would have done more for them. "Come on, Mistyfoot," Greystripe gently nudged his friend. "Let's take her back to camp." "I'll help you," Fireheart offered. Mistyfoot sat up. "No," she meowed. "You've done enough, Fireheart. Thank you. But this is for her own clan to do." With great care, she grasped Greypool's scruff in her jaws. Greystripe took a hold of the elder's body, and together the 2 cats carried her down the slope towards the 2-leg bridge. Greypool's limp form sagged between them, and her tail trailed in the dust. When they reached the other side of the river, Fireheart turned away, back into his own territory and the ThunderClan camp. His thoughts were churning. Tiger Star had found out that 2 RiverClan warriors had come from ThunderClan. Fireheart had no idea what Tiger Star would do with this knowledge, but he knew, as sure as the sun would rise the next morning, that ShadowClan leader would make some use of it, and he had a sinking feeling the outcome could be disastrous for Blue Star and the whole of ThunderClan. I forgot to say this before, but now I forgot what I was gonna say. I remember that I was gonna say something, but I forgot what I was gonna say. She forgot. I did. I forgot. Was it about Grey Stripe? Was it about Greypool? Mistyfoot? Sandstorm! It was about Sandstorm. She like... Something about the chipmunk wrestling when you're reading is low-key kind of realism. I was thinking about Sandstorm, like she goes out hunting with Fireheart, and then instead what happens is she meets Princess, she meets Greystripe, she meets Mistyfoot, she finds out they're gonna go hunting for Mistyfoot, like gonna go find Mistyfoot, like all these things happen. It's like, this is just another average day for Fireheart, and this is not Sandstorm's average day. And she's just like, well, guess this is happening. Sandstorm, this is now going to be your life if you continue pursuing Fireheart. Fireheart stopped to hunt on the way home and arrived at the top of the ravine with a rabbit clamped firmly in his jaws. Looking down at the entrance to camp, he saw that Goldenflower had brought her kids out into the bottom of the ravine. The two of them were chasing each other among the rocks, pretending to attack Brightpaw, who flicked her tail at them and frisked about just out of their reach. As Fireheart padded down the ravine and dropped the rabbit to watch for a moment, Bramblecat bounded up to him and laid a mouse at his paws. "Look, Fireheart!" he meowed triumphantly. "I caught it all by myself!" "His first prey," Goldenflower added, with a fond look at her son. Bramblecat's amber eyes blazed with excitement. "Mother says I'll be just a good hunter as my father," he told Fireheart. Fireheart felt an unpleasant jolt in his belly. His eyes narrowed, and he gave Goldenflower a sharp glance. Goldenflower kept her eyes fixed on her son, but Fireheart could tell from her twitching tail tip that she knew he was watching her. "Fireheart?" Bramblecat was looking puzzled. "May I give my mouse to the elders?" Fireheart shook himself angrily. The kid had done very well to catch a mouse when he was still so young, and he deserved a bit of praise. Yet Fireheart couldn't help remembering Tigerstar bending over Greypool's limp body, and he had a hard struggle not to vent his fury onto the innocent Bramblecat. "Yes, of course," he mewed. "And well done for catching it. See if One Eye would like it. She might think it's worth a story." Bramblecat's eyes lit up. "Good idea!" he yowled. He snatched up the mouse and tore down the ravine towards the camp entrance. His sister, Tawny Kit, scampered after him. Goldenflower was looking fiercely at Fireheart, and he knew that she saw very clearly how forced his praise had been. Frostily, she mewed. "I told you before, Fireheart. I won't tell the kids anything bad about their father. We're loyal to the clan. All of us." She spun around, swishing her tail across Fireheart's face as she did so, and stalked back into camp. Fireheart retrieved his rabbit and followed, deciding that he would take his prey to Cinderpelt and talk to her about Bramblecat at the same time. She might have some ideas about how to best handle the kit. The gray she-cat had limped back into camp very late the night after the medicine cat gathering at Highstones. Fireheart knew she had been exhausted, but it had seemed that the light of the moonstone still gleamed in her eyes. As Fireheart pushed his way into the clearing through the newly grown gorse tunnel, he saw that Cinderpelt was sitting with Speckletail outside the nursery. The medicine cat was watching Snowkit, who patted at something on the ground a few tailwinks away from his mother. Good, Fireheart thought. Now we should be able to find out if there's something wrong with Snowkit. He padded over to the two she-cats and dropped the rabbit beside Cinderpelt. "That's for you," he meowed. "How do you feel after your journey?" Cinderpelt turned and looked at him. Her blue eyes were tranquil. "I'm fine," she purred. "Thanks for the rabbit. Speckletail and I were just having a chat about Snowkit." "There's nothing to chat about," Speckletail murmured, hunching her shoulders. She sounded crankly. but there was a new sense of authority about Cinderpelt, and Fireheart guessed that the older she-cat hadn't dared to refuse outright to talk to her. Cinderpelt dipped her head. Just call him to you, would you? She asked. Speckletail snorted and called out, Snowkit! Snowkit, come here! She beckoned with her tail as she spoke. Snowkit got up, abandoning the ball of moss that he had been playing with, and padded over to his mother. Speckletail bent down and gave his ear a quick lick. Good, meowed Cinderpelt. Now, Fireheart, go over there and call him to you, will you? She nodded. She nodded towards a spot a few fox lengths away. In a lower voice, she added, Don't move. Just use your voice. Puzzled, Fireheart did as she asked. This time, although Snowkit was looking straight at him, he didn't move. There was no response from it at all, even when Fireheart called 3 or 4 times. A few other cats paused on their way to the pile of fresh kill and came to see what was going on. Bluestar, roused by the sound of voices, Fireheart guessed, emerged from her den and sat watching near the base of the high rock. Dappletail, who was strolling back to the Elder's den, stopped beside Speckletail and said something to her. Speckletail spat an irritated reply, but Fireheart was too far away to hear what the 2 cats had said to each other. Dappletail ignored Speckletail's snappishness and sat down next to Cinderpelt to watch closely. Fireheart kept calling to Snowkit until Speckletail gave the kit a nudge, nodding in his direction, and the kit came bounding across. Well done, Fireheart meowed, and repeated his praise when Snowkit looked at him blankly. After a pause, the kit mewed, It's all right. Oh. But the words sounded so distorted that Fireheart could hardly understand him. He led Snowkit back to his mother and Cinderpelt. By now, he was beginning to suspect what the trouble was, and he felt no surprise when Cinderpelt turned to Speckletail and meowed, I'm sorry, Speckletail. Snowkit is deaf. You called it, Peachy! Speckletail worked her paws on the ground in front of her. Her expression was a mixture of grief and anger. I know he's deaf, she snapped at last. I'm his mother. Do you think I wouldn't know? White cats with blue eyes are often deaf, Dappletail mewed to Fireheart. I remember one of my first litter, she sighed. What happened to him? Fireheart asked. Relieved that Cloudpaw, who was also white with blue eyes, had good hearing. No cat knows, Dappletail told him sadly. He disappeared when he was 3 moons old. We thought a fox must have gotten him. Dang. Speckletail gathered Snowkit closer to her, fiercely protective. Well, a fox won't get this one, she vowed. I can look after him. I'm sure you can, Bluestar mewed, padding over to them. But I'm afraid he can never be a warrior. This was one of Bluestar's good days, Fireheart realized. Her voice was sympathetic but determined, and her eyes were clear. Why can't he be a warrior? Speckletail demanded. There's nothing else wrong with him. He's a good, strong kit. He gets on just fine if you signal what he's got to do. That's not enough, Bluestar told her. A mentor couldn't teach him to fight or hunt by signals. He can't hear commands in battle. And how could he catch prey if he can't listen or hear the sound of his own paw steps? Speckletail leaped to her paws with her fur bristling, and for a few moments Fireheart thought she might spring at Bluestar. But then she whipped around, nudged Snowkit to his paws, and vanished with him inside the nursery. She's taking it badly, Dappletail remarked. How do you expect her to take it? Asked Cinderpelt. She's getting old. This could well be her last kit. And now she's learned she can't ever be a warrior. Cinderpelt, you must talk to her, Bluestar ordered. Make her see that the needs of the clan must come first. What does that mean? Yes, of course, Bluestar, Cinderpelt mewed, with a respectful nod to her leader. But I think it's best for her to have a little time alone with Snowkit first. To let her get used to the idea that the rest of the clan knows about his deafness. Bluestar grunted agreement and padded back towards her den. Fireheart couldn't help feeling disappointed. Not long ago, Bluestar would have talked to Speckletail herself, and perhaps considered some opinions about Snowkit's future in the clan. Where had that compassion and understanding gone? Fireheart wondered. His fur prickled as he realized that his leader hardly seemed to care about the deaf kit or his mother. Wait, what does that, the way that she said that, what does that imply? They're not gonna kill the kit or abandon the kit. They'll just, like, have to take care of it, right? So, like, Well, they take care of the elders. And when Cinderpelt, when her leg got busted up, and not before she was kind of like being trained to be a medicine cat, she was stuck in this limbo of knowing she couldn't be a warrior, right? And she was just in a limbo. They weren't gonna like kill Cinderpelt. What did you miss? Snowkid is deaf. He can't hear. Yeah. Poor little buddy. Chapter 8. The sun was rising over the trees as Fireheart and his patrol approached Snake Rocks, on the opposite side of the territory to the river. Cat sign language. That's what Speckletail was saying! The fire had not reached this far. The undergrowth was still lush and green. The leaves had begun to fall. Hold on, Fireheart meowed to Thornpaw as the apprentice dashed towards the rocks. Don't forget there are adders around here. Thornpaw skidded to a halt. Sorry, Fireheart. Since Bluestar had refused to make them warriors, Fireheart had made a point of spending time with all the apprentices in turn, including at least one of them in every patrol, in an attempt to show them that the clan still valued them. Swiftpaw's scowl suggested that he was still resentful of the delay, but Thornpaw did not seem to mind waiting for full warrior status. Mousefur, Thornpaw's mentor, padded up to him. Tell me what you can smell. Thornpaw stood with his head raised and his jaw parted, drinking in the air. Mouse! He mewed, almost at once, swiping his tongue around his mouth. Yes, but we're not hunting now. Mousefur reminded him. What else? The Thunderpath, over there. Thornpaw gestured with his tail. And a dog. Fireheart, who had been lapping water from a hollow in the ground, pricked up his ears. Tasting the air, he realized Thornpaw was right. There was a strong scent of dog, and it was fresh. That's odd, he commented. Unless the Two-Legs were up early, that scent should be stale. Last night at the latest. What the dog doing? He remembered Whitestorm's report of finding trampled undergrowth and scattered pigeon feathers near Snake Rocks. The place had smelled of dog then, but the scent would not have survived for this long. We'd better take a good look around, he meowed. Ordering Thornpaw not to leave his mentor, Fireheart sent the other cats into the trees while he crept closer to the rocks. Before he reached them, he was called back by Mousefur. Come look at this! Skirting a bramble thicket, Fireheart joined the brown warrior and looked down into a small, steep-sided clearing. There was a stagnant pool of greenish water at the bottom, choked by fallen leaves. The sharp scent of crushed ferns reached Fireheart's scent glands, but it was barely noticeable under the overpowering stench of dog. Pigeon feathers were scattered all around, the scrapes of fur that might have been squirrel or rabbit. A little way down the slope, Thornpaw sniffed a pile of dog dung and recoiled with a snort of disgust. Slajwaa. Fireheart forced himself to take in every detail of the scene. Two-Legs didn't usually stay in the forest long enough to leave this many traces, trampling the undergrowth and scouting the remains of prey until the forest reeked like a fox's hole. Seeing it with his own eyes made him realize that something was definitely wrong. What do you think? Asked Mousefur. I don't know. Fireheart was reluctant to voice his worries. It looks as if there might be a dog loose in the forest, free from Two-Legs. Was that what those Two-Legs had been looking for? He wondered, suddenly remembered the three who had come in the monster when he was hunting in Tall Pines with Sandstorm. But that had been a long way from here, on the other side of ThunderClan territory. What are we gonna do? Thornpaw piped up, looking unusually serious. I'll report it to Bluestar, Fireheart decided. If there's a dog wandering around in our territory, we'll need to do something about it. Maybe we can lead it away somehow. The dog was clearly taking prey that ThunderClan couldn't spare, and Fireheart didn't like to think of what might happen if it met one of the clan warriors face to face. As he turned away from the clearing and led the way back towards the camp, Fireheart could not help feeling the forest around him had become strangely hostile. He knew every tree and stone. There was something in its depths, not quite a scent nor a sound, more like an echo on the edge of a hearing, that he did not understand. Was it just a dog? Or were Bluestar's fears about to come true after all? Did StarClan have some sort of other disaster in mind for ThunderClan? The patrol had almost reached the camp when Fireheart scented ThunderClan cats behind him. Turning, he saw Whitestorm, Brightpaw, and Cloudpaw picking their way through the blackened debris in the forest floor. All of them were carrying fresh kill. Good hunting? Fireheart asked as they caught up with him. Whitestorm dropped the rabbit he was carrying. Not bad, he replied. But we had to go all the way to the 4 trees to find it. Still, it looks good and fat, Fireheart meowed approvingly. Well done. He added to Brightpaw and Cloudpaw, who were both dragging squirrels. We saw something I think you ought to know about, mewed Whitestorm. Let's go back to camp. The White Warrior picked up his rabbit again and fell in behind Fireheart as he led the way down the ravine. Once they had deposited the fresh kill up in the pile, and Fireheart had sent the apprentices off to feed the elders, he took a piece for himself and crouched beside Whitestorm to eat it. Mousefur picked out a blackbird from the heap and came to join them. So, what did you see? Fireheart asked, when a few mouthfuls of wool had taken the edge off the hunger in his belly. He saw Whitestorm's expression darken and guessed the answer before the White Warrior spoke. More scattered prey, Whitestorm meowed. Scraps of rabbit fur. And more dog scent, not far from 4 trees this time. Near the border with RiverClan. Fresh scent? Yesterday's, I'd guess. Fireheart nodded, anxiety prickling in his paws. Clearly the dog had ranged much further than he had first thought. Gulping down the last of his full, he told Whitestorm what his dawn patrol had found that morning. The whole place stank, Mousefur contributed, looking up from her meal. There's a dog in our territory, isn't there, killing our prey? Yes, I think so. Fireheart turned to Whitestorm. When you told me about the first lot of scent you found, I hoped that the dog would have gone home by now with his 2 legs, but it obviously hasn't. We'll have to get rid of it somehow, Whitestorm meowed grimly. I know. I'm going to report it to Bluestar. She'll probably want to hold a clan meeting. Leaving Whitestorm and Mousefur, Fireheart padded across the camp towards the high rock. As Sunhigh approached, the life of the camp went on peacefully around him. Ashpaw and Swiftpaw were scuffling outside the apprentice's den. Near the warrior's den, Frostfur and Brindleface were sharing tongues, both of them looking half asleep while taking the watch the previous night. In the center of the clearing, Speckletail was signaling with her paws and tail to her kit, while Breakenfur looked on. A pang of fear struck deep into Fireheart as he imagined the havoc that the stray dog could create if it found the camp. He had almost reached Bluestar's den when Breakenfur got up and bounded across to Fireheart. Fireheart, may I have a word? Fireheart paused. If it's quick, I have to speak to Bluestar. It's Speckletail, Breakenfur explained. I'm worried about her. She thinks Snowkit should be an apprentice, and she's trying to mentor him herself. She thinks if Bluestar sees that he can learn, she'll have to make him a warrior. Now that Fireheart looked more closely at Mother and Kit, he could see that they weren't just playing. At least Speckletail wasn't. She was showing Snowkit a hunting crouch. Snowkit seemed to be having fun, rolling over and batting at his mother with his paws, but he wasn't copying her movements with any accuracy. Aww. Fireheart watched them with growing sadness. It might be for the best, he sighed after a moment. If Speckletail realizes for herself that Snowkit can't learn, it might help her accept that he'll never be a warrior. Maybe. Breakenfur didn't sound convinced. I'd like to watch them for a bit, anyway, and see if there's anything I can do. Fireheart studied him approvingly. Though Breakenfur had not been a warrior for many moons, he had the serious air of a much older cat. He was ready for an apprentice, and Fireheart was sure he would make a fine mentor, patient and responsible, but not for Snowkit. Fireheart knew that the deaf kit could never have a mentor, and would never travel to gatherings, or know the fierce joy of being a warrior in the service of his clan. However, as long as there were no other kits in need of mentors, it wouldn't hurt to let Breakenfur take an interest in Snowkit. That's fine, provided it doesn't interfere with your warrior duties, Fireheart mewed. If you think of anything, let me know. I'll talk to Cinderpelt again. Thanks, Fireheart, meowed Breakenfur. He settled himself on the ground, paws tucked neatly under his chest, and went on watching Speckletail and Snowkit. Fireheart hesitated, feeling sad for the deaf kid and his mother, and for Brakenfur, whose hopes of becoming a mentor would be disappointed this time. Then he turned away to go find Bluestar. The clan leader was lying on her bedding in the far corner of the den. The sunlight did not reach her there, and she looked like a gray shadow. But the remains of a squirrel showed that she had eaten, and as Fireheart paused on the threshold, she was twisting her head around to wash her back. Fireheart felt encouraged by these signs of a normal routine. He scraped his claws on the ground to draw her attention, and when she turned to look at him, he meowed. Bluestar, may I come in? I've something to report. Nothing good, I suppose, Bluestar mewed sourly. Fireheart flinched at her tone, and the leader seemed to relent. All right, Fireheart, come in and tell me what's on your mind. We think there's a dog loose in the forest. Fireheart described the first time Whitestorm had discovered the scattered prey near Snake Rocks, what his patrol had seen that morning, and the rabbit remains what Whitestorm had found near 4 trees. Bluestar sat in silence, staring at the wall, until Fireheart finished. Then her head snapped around to face him. Near 4 trees? Where? By the RiverClan border, Whitestorm said. Bluestar let out a snarl and dug her claws into the floor of her den. Yes, I see it all, she spat. WindClan have been hunting on our territory. Fireheart stared at her. I'm sorry, Bluestar? I don't understand. Then you're a fool, Bluestar growled. Suddenly, she seemed to relax. No, Fireheart, you are a good and noble warrior. It's not your fault that you can't imagine the treachery of others. Sorry, that line is so funny. Then you're a fool! No. Actually, you're a good warrior. It's not your fault you're dumb. It's not your fault you're naive. Has she forgotten that I was the one who told her about Tiger Star? His mind spinning, he realized that this wasn't one of Bluestar's good days. Her eyes were staring, and her fur bristling as if rows of enemies stood in front of her. Perhaps, in her confusion, she thought they were. But Bluestar, Fireheart protested, everywhere we found the scrapes of prey, we scented dog. There's no reason to think that other clans are responsible. Mousebrain! Bluestar hissed, her tail lashing from side to side. Dogs don't behave like that. They come here with their 2 legs, and their 2 legs take them away. Who ever heard of a dog roaming free in the forest? Just because it hasn't happened before doesn't mean it can't happen now, Fireheart meowed desperately. Why do you believe it was WindClan? Can't you see? Bluestar's voice was taut with fury. WindClan warriors were hunting rabbits, and the rabbits must have crossed the RiverClan border by 4 trees. RiverClan's territory is narrow there. The WindClan cats chased their prey across both borders onto ThunderClan territory. Before they caught it, they killed it. She spoke with absolute certainty, as if she had witnessed it herself. It's so obvious. A cat could see it. Her paws started working again. Well, WindClan had better watch out. She's absolutely losing it. Fireheart's heart lurched. It sounded as if Bluestar were planning an attack to WindClan. We can't bear any more trouble, he thought despairingly. An image popped into his head of Tiger Star on his way to visit Crooked Star and Leopard Fur. With the possible alliance in the air between RiverClan and ShadowClan, the last thing they needed right now was a war with WindClan. You may be right, Bluestar, he admitted diplomatically, but we shouldn't blame WindClan without any real proof. It could have been RiverClan, couldn't it? Nonsense! Bluestar's voice was scornful. The cats of RiverClan would never cross the border in pursuit of prey. They know the warrior code better than that. Have you forgotten how they helped us in the fire? We would all have been burned or drowned if it wasn't for RiverClan. Yes, and Leopard Fur won't let us forget it in a hurry, Fire added silently. He couldn't help thinking that RiverClan might believe a few rabbits were only the beginning of payment for their help. Fireheart shook his head to clear it. There was no point in trying to blame RiverClan. He knew what sense he had picked up. A dog was responsible for the scattered prey, and he had to make Bluestar see that. Bluestar, I really think, he began. Bluestar dismissed his words with a sweep of her tail. No, she insisted. It was you, Fireheart, who came to me after the last gathering and told me how Tallstar welcomed Tiger Star as leader to ShadowClan. Hardly welcome. Fireheart tried to protest, but Bluestar ignored him. Have you forgotten how WindClan warriors stopped me from traveling to Highstones? And how they attacked you when they brought Cloudpaw home? They showed no gratitude, none, for what ThunderClan did for them. When you and Greystripe brought them home from exile, Tallstar is working with StarClan against me. He has allied himself with my greatest enemy, and now he and his warriors invade my territory. He's a disgrace to the name of warriors. Her eyes were wild and her voice sank into a rough choking, as if she could hardly get the words out. Thoroughly alarmed, Fireheart started back out of the pen. Bluestar, don't, he begged. You've been ill. This is bad for you. I'm gonna fetch Cinderpelt. Before he could leave, a loud yowling broke out of the clearing. It was the sound of many cats, raising their voices in terrible screech of fear. Fireheart spun around and raced out of Bluestar's den. The center of the clearing was almost deserted, bathed in bright light where the normal leafy cover had been burned away. Cats crouched on the edges in the scant shelter of the charred fern walls. Fireheart caught a glimpse of Goldenflower and Willowpelt pushing their kits into the nursery. Breakenfur was nudging a couple of elders towards their den, urging them to hurry. The cats at the edge of the clearing were staring up at the sky, their eyes huge with fear. As he looked upward, Fireheart heard the beating of wings and saw a hawk circling above the trees, its harsh cry drifting in the air. At the same time, he realized that one cat had not taken shelter. Snowkit was still tumbling and playing in the middle of the open space. Snowkit! Speckletail yelled desperately. She was just emerging from behind the nursery, the place where the queens went to make dirt, and she darted towards her kit as soon as she realized what was happening. In the same heartbeat, the hawk plunged down towards the clearing. Snowkit screamed as cruel talons fastened into his back. The great wings flapped. Fireheart raced forward, but Speckletail was faster still. As the hawk lifted off, she sprang upward and snagged her claw on the white kit's fur. For a couple of agonizing moments, both cats dangled from the hawk's claws. Fireheart launched himself into the air, but they were too high. Then the hawk released the kit in one foot and scored its talons across Speckletail's face. The she-cat lost her grip and fell, landing heavily on the ground. Without her weight, the hawk mounted rapidly to the tree-top height and flew off towards Four Trees. Snowkit's terrified crying died away. Oh, something happened. Okay, I'm just gonna continue for now. No! Speckletail threw her head back and let out a yowl of pure desperation. My kit! Oh, my kit! Breakenfoot dashed past Fireheart, leaped to the camp wall and at a place where the rebuilding had barely started, and vanished into the forest. Even though Fireheart knew the pursuit was helpless, he swung around and caught the eye of the nearest cat. Swiftpaw, go help him! Swiftpaw opened his mouth to protest, clearly aware that the pursuit would be helpless, then closed it again and took off after Breakenfur. The rest of the cats, stunned by shock, gradually crept out of the clearing again and formed a ragged circle around Speckletail. He couldn't hear, Sandstorm murmured, touching her nose with Fireheart's cheek. He couldn't hear the hawk, and he couldn't hear us when we tried to warn him. It's my fault, Speckletail wailed. I left him, and now he's gone. The hawk should have taken me instead. Sunstorm moved closer to the tabby queen, pressing herself comfortingly against her side, and Cinderpelt came up and gave her ears a gentle lick. Come to my den, she mewed. We'll look after you. We won't leave you. But Speckletail refused to be comforted. He's gone and it's my fault, she whimpered. It's not your fault, meowed Bluestar. Fireheart turned to see his leader pacing towards them. The broad-shouldered gray she-cat looked strong and determined, more like a warrior than any of the other cats, crushed as they were by the tragedy of Snowkit's loss. It's not your fault, she repeated. Whoever heard of a hawk that dared to swoop down and take a kit from the middle of a camp? With so many other cats around. This is a sign from StarClan. I cannot deny the truth any longer. Bluestar gazed at her shocked, assembled clan, and her voices vibrated with anger. StarClan is at war with ThunderClan. Bruh. Snowkit's dead! That's so sad. That poor cat. I'm surprised that he didn't realize that the other cats had run away. Or actually that any other cat in the clearing would grab him and run with him. Like, he's still a kit. Wouldn't you grab the kit? These people. I mean, cats. He's a baby! They're like, oh, we didn't hear our calls. He's a kitten anyways. He didn't need, like, even if you were calling him, sometimes kittens don't, like, listen, right? Cloudpaw, for example. Bramblekit. Where was his mom? She was, like, in the nursery for a second for some reason. I think maybe she was taking a poop. He had AirPods in. He had AirPods in. He couldn't hear them. Okay, let's keep going. I just, like... I bit into a chip, you guys, and it stabbed the bottom of my gums. She's gonna regret taking that poop for the rest of her life. Sunship strikes back. How dare it? How dare it? StarClan is raging war against me. Chapter 9. Shouldn't have taken the kid to the pooper. That's what all moms do. They take their kids to the pooper with them. As her clan stared at her in horror, Blue Star spun around and stalked away to her den. Fireheart took a pace after her, but without turning her head, she snapped, "Leave me alone!" There was so much venom in her voice that Fireheart stopped in his tracks. What am I supposed to do now? He asked himself. You got Silver Wolf nuts gone! Nice! And thank you for the follow! Is the other guy there too? Or is it just Silver Wolf? Silver Wolf's the character in Star Rail. Is the shield guy here? Is the shield guy arrived? Is Silver Wolf good? That's a good question. Who? The shield man. The healer. No, the other one. The new one. He has long hair. Yeah, that's the game. The big mecha man and the little girl. Not yet. Dang it. I want him. I want him. Does Silver Wolf have, like... I simp for the man. Does Silver Wolf have, like, a good follow-up attack or something? It's Clara! I have Clara. Other than that, I don't know squat about the game. It's a good game! I like it. I haven't played it in a while, but I still get my dailies. I just think Silver Wolf is neat. Mobile, PC, both. It is both mobile and PC. Silver Wolf is Bronya. Oh, really? Nice! I heard Bronya is really good. So if Silver Wolf is also Bronya, then that's good. Maybe I'll log on later. I don't know. Okay, but until then, another chapter. Join us in gacha. Cat is already... I guess... Would Cookie Run be considered a gacha? It does have, like, a slight gacha system with the treasures, but... Still. Yes, it is. They got rid of the treasure chests. Okay, continuing. He could see that the clan was on the edge of panic. The shock of the Hawk's attack and Blue Star's interpretation of it was turning them into frightened kits. His own legs were shaking, but he pushed his fears away and sprang onto the high rock. "Listen!" he called. "Gather round, all of you!" Gradually, the cats obeyed him, creeping into a huddle at the base of the rock. Several of them glanced fearfully up at the sky, as if they expected the hawk to return. Fireheart noticed Fernpaw pressing close to Dustpelt, and Longtail crouched on the ground as if he thought StarClan was going to start raining fire on them then and there. And then, Fireheart spotted Cloudpaw. The apprentice was gazing around in bewilderment. "What's all the fuss about?" he meowed to Brightpaw. "Every clan knows StarClan is just a tale for kits. They can't do anything to us." The atheist among them. Brightpaw faced him with shock in her eyes. "Cloudpaw, that's not true," she exclaimed. "Come on!" Cloudpaw gave her an affectionate flick with his tail. "You don't really believe that load of thistledown, do you?" He showed his indifference by sitting down and giving his paws a thorough wash. Fireheart stared down at his apprentice with cold dread chilling the blood in his veins. He had known for a long time Cloudpaw had no respect for the warrior code, but he had not realized that his apprentice did not believe in StarClan at all. On the other side of the clearing, Cinderpelt and Brindleface were gently guiding Speckletail in the direction of Cinderpelt's den. Cinderpelt stopped, meowing something rapidly to Brindleface, and came limping back towards the rock. You know she's cat Christian! Where are we at? "I think you might need me, Fireheart," she mewed. "But make it quick. I have to take care of Speckletail." Fireheart nodded. "Cats of ThunderClan," he began, raising his voice. "We've just seen something terrible. No cat can deny that. But we have to be careful about what meaning we give to this tragedy. Cinderpelt, is Blue Star right? Does this mean that StarClan have abandoned us?" Cinderpelt spoke up clearly from where she sat at the base of the rock. "No," she meowed. "StarClan hasn't shown me anything to suggest this. The camp is more exposed since the fire, so it's not surprising that the hawk could see its prey." "So it was just an accident that we lost Snowkit," Fireheart prompted. "Just an accident," Cinderpelt repeated. "Nothing to do with StarClan." Fireheart saw the clan begin to relax and realized that Cinderpelt's certainty had reassured them. The cats still looked shocked and grief-stricken that Snowkit had been snatched away, but the wild stares of panics were fading. But along with his relief came the worry that once the clan had recovered from their shock, they would start asking themselves why Blue Star had gone so far as to declare war on the warrior ancestors in StarClan. "Thank you, Cinderpelt," Fireheart meowed. Cinderpelt flicked her tail and limped away towards her den. Fireheart took a step forward on top of the rock and gazed down at the upturned faces. "There's something else I need to tell you," he began. He wasn't at all sure he should be saying this, since Blue Star insisted that WindClan was responsible for the dead rabbits, but with the safety of the clan at stake, he couldn't keep silent. "We think there's a loose dog on ThunderClan territory. We haven't seen it, but we scented it at Snake Rocks and near 4 trees. An anxious murmur rose from the cats, and Sandstorm called out, "What about the dogs at the farm beyond WindClan territory? Maybe it's one of those." "Maybe," Fireheart agreed, remembering how the savage creatures had chased him and Sandstorm while they were searching for Cloudpaw. "Until it goes away again," he went on, "we all have to be especially careful. Apprentices mustn't go out without a warrior, and all cats who leave camp must have an extra duty. Look for traces of this dog. Scent, paw marks, scattered scrapes of prey, and dung," Mousefur put in. "The filthy creatures never think of burying it." "Right," meowed Fireheart. "If you come across anything like that, report it to me right away. We need to find out where the dog has made its den." As he gave his orders, he did his best to hide his growing sense of dread. He could not stifle the feeling that the forest was watching him, concealed the deadly enemy somewhere among its trees. At least the threat from Tigerstar was straightforward. a straightforward fear of attack from a known enemy. This hidden dog was another matter, unseen and unpredictable. Among us. Dismissing the clan, Fireheart leaped down from the high rock and made his way towards Cinderpelt's den. On the way, he spotted Breakenfur limping back into camp with Sifpot just behind him. The ginger warrior's fur was torn where he had forced his way through the briars and undergrowth in his pursuit of the hawk. One look at his lowered head and dejected expression told Fireheart all he needed to know, but he waited for Breakenfur to come up and make his proper report. "I'm sorry, Fireheart. We tried to keep up, but we lost it." "You did your best," Fireheart replied, pressing his head against the young warrior's shoulder. There was never much hope. "A wasted time and effort from the start," Swiftpaw growled, though his eyes betrayed his frustration at the failure to save the kit. "Where's Speckletail?" "Where's Speckletail?" asked Breakenfur. "With Cinderpelt. I'm just gonna go check on her. You two should help yourself to fresh kill and then get some rest." He waited to see that the two cats obeyed his orders before continuing to Cinderpelt's den. Sandstorm fell into step beside them. When they reached the clearing outside the medicine cat den, they found Speckletail laying there with Brindleface crouched beside her, licking her gently. Cinderpelt emerged from the cleft in the rock carrying a folded leaf in her mouth, which she set down on the ground in front of Speckletail. "Poppy seeds," she mewed. "Eat them, Speckletail, and they'll make you sleep." At first Fireheart thought Speckletail had not heard her. Then she half sat up, turned her head, and slowly licked up the poppy seeds from the leaf. "I'll never have any more kits," she mewed, her voice hoarse. I'll just be going to join the elders now." "And they'll welcome you," Sandstorm murmured, crouching beside the old cat. As poppy seeds took effect and her head gradually lowered into sleep, Fireheart glanced admiringly at Sandstorm. She was a skilled warrior and had reason to know the sharpness of her tongue. And he had reason to know the sharpness of her tongue, but she had a gentle side too. He was roused from his thoughts when he heard Cinderpelt clearing her throat, and he saw that the medicine cat had padded over to sit beside him. From the look she was giving him, he realized that she must have spoken to him and was waiting for a response. Oh my god, he was just staring at Sandstorm. Sorry, what?" he mewed. "If you're not too busy to listen," Cinderpelt meowed dryly, "I said that I'll keep Speckletail with me overnight." "Good idea, thanks." Fireheart remembered that Cinderpelt had been with Speckletail when he had been telling the clan about the loose dog. "There's something else you need to know, and I'd like you to have another look at Bluestar." "Oh? What's the matter with her?" Speaking softly so that Sandstorm did not hear him, Fireheart told Cinderpelt about the evidence that a dog was loose in the forest, and how Bluestar was convinced that it must be WindClan invading ThunderClan territory to steal prey. "She's so confused," he finished. "She must be to declare war on StarClan like that. And there's a gathering in a few nights. What's gonna happen if she starts accusing WindClan in front of the other cats?" "Now wait a minute," Cinderpelt meowed. "This is our clan leader you're talking about. You should respect her opinion even if you don't agree with them." "This is just disagreement," Fireheart protested. "There isn't a scrap of proof for what she suggests." His raised voice made Sandstorm prick up her ears as she lay beside Speckletail, and he lowered it again as he added, "Bluestar was a great leader. Every cat knows that. But now, I can't trust her judgment, Cinderpelt. Not when she isn't making any sense. You should still try to understand her. Show her a bit of sympathy at least. She deserves that from every cat." For a few heartbeats, Fireheart felt outraged that Cinderpelt, who had once been his apprentice, should be talking to him like this. It wasn't Cinderpelt who had to defend Bluestar's decision to try and hide her confusion so that her own clan should still trust her. Not to mention making excuses for her to all the other clans so that no cat would guess the weakness at ThunderClan's heart. "Do you think I haven't tried?" he snapped. "If I'm any more sympathetic, my fur will fall out." "Your fur looks fine to me," Cinderpelt remarked. "Look." Fireheart made one last effort to suppress his annoyance. Bluestar missed the last gathering. If she doesn't go to the next one, every cat in the forest will know something's wrong. Can't you give her something to make her a bit more reasonable?" "I'll try. But there's a limit to what my herbs can do. She's gotten over the effects of the fire, you know. This trouble started long before that, when she first found out about Tigerstar. She's old and tired, and she thinks she's losing everything she believed in, even StarClan." "Especially StarClan," Fireheart agreed. "And if she..." He broke off, realizing that Sandstorm had left Speckletail and was walking towards them. Finished telling secrets? She mewed, with an edge to her voice. Flicking her tail towards Speckletail, she added, She's asleep. I'll leave her to you, Cinderpelt. Thanks for your help, Sandstorm. Both she-cats were being very polite to each other, but somehow Fireheart felt it wouldn't take much for them to unsheath their claws. He wondered why, but decided he didn't have time to worry about petty squabbles. What? What? Are they jealous of each other? For Fireheart's attention? Bro. Bro. And afterwards, you need to rest, Sandstorm told him. We have been on your paws since dawn. She gave him a nudge, propelling him towards the main clearing. Before he had taken more than a couple paces, Cinderpelt called after him. Send some fresh kill for me and Speckletail. If you got time, that is. Of course I've got time. Fireheart felt completely baffled by the tension that had chilled the air. I'll see to it right away. Good. Cinderpelt gave him a curt nod, and Fireheart felt her blue gaze trained on his back all the way across the clearing. What? What is that tension? Wait, are they really, like, jealous of Fireheart's attention? Oh my gosh. That's so funny. It be like that. Sorry. Oh my god, I totally forgot that the microphone would pick that up. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I just way too sorry. I rolled it up and put it to the side. Oh my god, I didn't even think. Guys, we're on page 62 right now. 62! We have like almost only 100 more pages to go. What kind of vitamins are those? My chips? My yummy little chips. Chips. Should I keep going? Maybe we should stop for now. It's been 3 hours. We are on page 62. Russell. Gotta look up what kind of vitamins will help with broken eardrums. I'm sorry. I've been so sorry. Please forgive me. Silly goose behavior. Silly goose. Okay, I think that's it for now. I think we made good progress. We're ending at like a kind of tense moment, but not really too tense. The drama hasn't really... I actually wanted to read into a very specific moment, but I honestly don't know how far into the book that specific moment is. So potentially I could be reading the entire book, is what I'm saying. So I guess I'll just wait until next time. I'm grabbing you. I'm gripping you with my fingers. I'm wondering what to stream on Friday. I think we'll have a break from Volcano Princess. And play something else, but I'm not quite sure what yet. Who the heck is Sagemore? Huh? It says that person has 1,000 people Oh, there we go. Sage Mommy. How many books are there of this? Well, this is the second last book of this series. There's one series that follows Fireheart's journey, and then the next series follows another cat's, but it's still in the same like universe. So Fireheart is still there, but we're just not following them. I know, I've won so many. So we're only two books away from the end of this series. And then we'll go on to the next series. I really, really, really want to get to the third series with you guys because it's my favorite. And also, I think you guys would love Hollyleaf because Hollyleaf is absolutely insane. All right. And I'm also excited for the second series because I didn't like it the first time I read it, but as I'm rereading the first series again, a lot of cats I wasn't really a fond of or really didn't pay attention to, I like now. Like, I like them and I'm paying attention to them. And I can, like, remember the cats more, better. So I'm wondering if that's gonna, like, really change stuff. Oh my gosh, wait, I found out who we're gonna stream. Quickly, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm excited for. Streamer hacks? What do you mean? Oh yeah, to get the cool things. That's right, I have been using my streamer hacks. My streamer stuff. Okay, well, I'm not sure what we'll do on Friday. Something exciting. I think it's between more GTA, Game of Thrones. Oh, thank you, PT. I forgot to press that button. More, not Game of Thrones. Grand Theft Auto. Yeah. Either Grand Theft Auto, Rain World, maybe. What's the zombie one? Walking Dead. Walking Dead. Because I was remembering Walking Dead again. I remember Walking Dead. I haven't finished the first episode game. So maybe we'll go back to that. That might be exciting. Okay, well, it's 5 seconds left. Bye guys, I love you. Good night, good morning, have a good day. Bye.